Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, my love. How are you?
All the better for seeing you, my friend.
Oh, yes, yes. And we're waiting to see you, lovey. And I'm waiting for the big ice storm here, the Arctic blast, as they call it. And, and I'm
Well,
also eager to go through these letters. And I'm eager in the future, we will be getting back to the rest of the 75 names.
the flipper list.
Yeah, I'm I'm interested in, just like I'm interested in these letters. Now, it's what's it's a funny thing. As you know, history moves on and on and on. Have there been people saying that this show has been done before? I mean, I never remember doing this show with you.
Eric, I have been wanting to do these letters for some time now. I just never got around to doing it. But yeah, we're being accused of copying by a certain gardener. And can I just show this here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. You got me in the official Maury Terry group in October of 2024, and I say, for decades, Ted Bundy was a suspect for the murder of Aldous Perry. Bundy attended Stanford University in the summer of 1967 and frequented the area. Ted denied all involvement. Ted also had an ice pick on his murder kit.
What do you think?
I think David suspected Ted, just like the feds did, of Aldous Perry's killing because he was familiar with the area.
But
So for this certain person, no.
And who's the man on the lower right?
That's Stephen Crawford. That was the man that was arrested for Aldous Perry's murder, who shot himself when the police came to arrest him.
And that's another possible question mark.
What, Eric?
That he was the murderer.
Well, DNA linked him to Aldous Perry.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to show you here. Yeah, I have not copied you, Mr. Gardner. I've been fascinated with Ted Bundy since the early 2000s, all right? So therefore, I'm in, groups on Facebook that talk about Ted Bundy, for which this is where I saw this Aldous Perry article. So for you to say that we're copying you is just hogwash. I mean, have you ever analyzed these letters before, Eric?
No, I don't believe I have. I mean, with I did do with on Manny. Yeah, I think it was Manny Monday, not Psychiatric Sunday. Might have been Psychiatric. We might have touched upon a letter here and there.
Not in the context we're doing today, where I'm more fascinated with the angle of a serial killer discussing other serial killers. I don't think this person did that.
Yeah, I think our analysis was a bit, and discussion was different. I'm not, I would have to go back and see, but I think what most people have been discussing about this, and this is where you're going to be unique, and thank you for asking me to come along, is that it's mostly been discussed the mystery of Berkowitz's relationship with D Channel, whose name, by the way, was given a security name in the ultimate evil, an investigation of America's most dangerous satanic cult with new evidence linking Charles Manson's Son of Sam by Maury Terry. He called her Lee Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting the way he knew how to play with words, because Lee instead of D, and the CHA of
riddles.
And the CHA of channel for chase, but
Steve says Ted liked to keep the corpses. He liked to go back and revisit the corpses, Steve. Yes, he did.
Now, this is what's interesting. One of the authors, the main authors of, is it Anne Rule?
Yeah, Stranger Beside Me, yep.
Now, did she not go to school with him as a child? Did she not
She
know
Anne Rule worked at the suicide hotline with Ted.
with Ted
Mm-hmm.
in help? It was like Good Samaritan work.
Mm-hmm. She said Ted was very good with people, helped a lot of people.
Mm. That's like Sandra London, the queen of true crime journalism, who went out in high school with a man who eventually became a serial killer. I think she wrote about him too. I forget which one it was, though. I don't want to quote that. I'd have to get the name. Yeah, well, you never know. You never, it's just like bind, torture, kill. Uh, Dennis Rader. Many people knew him, a Boy Scout man, church man, family man. It's rather eerie that you never imagine who could be uh, possessed with extreme evil to carry things out like that. Appearances don't always have you recognize an evil person. Could be a Prince Charming.
Well, you know what a lot of serial killers have in common, don't you, Eric? Mummy
Uh,
issues.
they have mommy issues. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Mhm.
Yes. I
And
mean, Ted Bundy, for instance, grew up thinking his mother was his sister and his grandparents were his parents. And then he found out later in life his sister was his mother.
well, that's what happened to Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
I mean,
that
there's lots of serial killers that had mummy issues.
and even a young boy here on Meadowmere Park. His sister was really his mother, but people were very cruel back then. We say, oh, what a Christian country and all that. And yet, if they knew, they would forever torture and gossip and scandalize about these people because out of wedlock they had a child, you see. At least the child lived. But, I mean, now if it was, let's say, a Catholic country, when Roman Apostolic Catholicism was truly Christian, the one I grew up in, like in Italy, they would take the girl and she'd be protected in a convent until she gave birth. And people wouldn't scandalize. There would be no. I mean, there's always going to be people scandalize, which is spiritual murder, as Pope St. Pius X said. That's what that type of talk is. It's you spiritually are murdering a person. Mishaps happen, but we tend to. I know here in America, the girl gets pregnant. There have been cases, and the parents, with this self-righteousness, say, "You're getting the hell out of this house, and don't you come back." I mean, talk about fanatical Puritanism, and also Ed Kemper. Is it Kemper or Klemper?
Kemper,
Kemper had a mother issue.
very much so.
Now I'm wondering, were there any who had a daddy issue, a father issue?
There is, but more mummy issues, Eric.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you look at David Berkowitz. Well, he had mommy issues.
Yeah, but then you have to
his mommy was dead.
analyze
Turns out she's alive.
the different type of mommy issue.
Yes.
Not all the same.
Some of these serial killers, there's one, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think it was Andrei Chikatilo, a Russian serial killer. I think his mother used to make him dress in girls' clothes and, just some weird stuff, Eric.
Well, that's what happened to Ernest Hemingway. And there was a show. Stephen Payne made A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, and the last section of the film is the gender something, and you see this poor man whose grandmother or auntie used to make him girls' clothes when he was young, and that has an effect upon a child. And he ended up going transgender, and then it was a tragedy for him, and he refused to be a woman, but he had lost his male genitalia. Very tragic, these stories. Very tragic what they do to people.
Look at Ed Gain. the relationship he had with his mother. I mean, he wasn't a serial killer, granted, like most people think, but
And
his mother was very, very strictly religious. And
yeah, well, Norman Bates, the character in Psycho, interpreted by Anthony Perkins, keeping the mother's dead body and dressing up in the mother's clothes. Did you ever see Psycho?
absolutely.
Yeah, but it's censored in England. Certain scenes are cut.
I just find these letters written from Dave id to D Channel fascinating.
And
Seeing a serial killer talk about his somewhat obsession with other serial killers, and the main one's going to be mentioned in these letters, as we discussed a minute ago. Ed Kemper, total victims 10, includes 2 grandparents when he was a teenager, 6 female students, a teenage hitchhiker, his mother and his mother's friend were among the victims. While he was convicted of 8 adult murders and his juvenile homicides weren't part of these counts, most records list his full victim count as 10 in total that we know of. And then David, he mainly talks about Ed Kemper and Ted Bundy. So you got Ted Bundy there. Confessed to 30. Bundy himself admitted to murdering 30 women and girls. Confirmed victims, 20 confirmed or documented by investigators, but he confessed to more. The suspected total, Eric, is more like 36 plus. Many experts believe they likely killed more than he admitted. So yeah, we got Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper, and the Hillside Strangler. Do you know much about them?
I've heard the name, but I never knew the Hillside Strangler was a duo.
Yes, you got Kenneth Bianchi on the left and his cousin Angelo Bono Jr. on the right. Confirmed victims 10 women and girls killed in Los Angeles between 77 and 78. They worked as a duo, Eric, so the total count refers to both of them together.
I'd like to know if there was something in the family. I mean, they're cousins. And tell me, why don't you, since you've studied D Channel very, very well, and the one thing that annoys me, this is what annoys me, is that we don't have the complete correspondence. Some people got them, and they're out for blood money, and they've sold the letters. And whoever has them won't let people see them, to my knowledge. I think it's blood money. They shouldn't be allowed to sell these things. They have no concern for who.
It's called murderabilia.
Yeah, well, it's called what? Murder?
Murderabilia. Murderabilia, like memorabilia, but murderabilia.
Murderabilia, yeah, it's sick. But suppose you give just initially, because there's many who don't know. There's people listening for the first time, and even somebody involved in the Son of Sam studies don't know. How did D Channel and David Berkowitz meet? I
believe she started corresponding with him.
Now that was her married name, Channel, right?
I believe so, yes.
Where was she from, Rena?
She lived in California. San Francisco?
Yeah, and she's deceased.
I believe so, yes.
And she had an interest in crime.
Occult and crime.
Yeah.
So if I just bring this up, it's basically the first letter. Do you want me to zoom that in, Eric? Can you see that all right?
Yeah, let me enlarge the screen. Yes, okay. So she's writing to Dr. Abrahamson.
No, this is David. So this is the 12th of August, 1979.
Yes. And
Dear Dr. Abrahamson, enclosed in this letter are 7 letters which are typed carbons of letters that were sent to a friend of mine on the West Coast. Both her and her husband, as well as myself, are fellow crime buffs. She is also a Christian who is involved with counseling people who are taken in or conned by occult groups. Lately, all 3 of us have been following the Bundy and Hillside Strangler cases closely. I've done a lot of writing and studying myself with regards to these two guys as well myself.
Now, what's interesting, what just occurred to my mind is I'm wondering now, I never thought of this, that maybe he was studying Bundy and the Hillside Stranglers, really, plural,
Yeah.
because he was trying to find out something about himself too.
Hmm.
You
Well,
know.
he compares himself to Campo later on.
Oh,
I
good.
hope you enjoy these carbons of my letters to Dee, as well as my analysis of myself and other psychopaths. I also hope that you can read these carbons, as some aren't very dark. If you have any questions about these enclosures, let me know. As you will see, Dee and I have many interests in common. However, please keep her name confidential. Lastly, she has asked about you, and she knows of our correspondence. Like me, she too hopes that you could accomplish the task of explaining my mind and life to the public. She has also asked me for a list of your books, some of which she read and enjoyed. Dee also sent me a copy of your story that appeared in the San Francisco Chronicle. It was a duplicate of the New York Times Story magazine section. Wishing you well, David Barkowitz. Please keep Dee's name confidential, and you may keep these letters.
So it's 7 letters that he wrote.
Yes, that he's given to Abrahamson to read. Yep.
Yeah, and Dr. David Abrahamson, for any newcomers, is the Norwegian who came to New York. He's a doctor of medicine, a psychiatrist, and he is the one psychiatrist of the group that continued to medically work from the mind point of view with Berkowitz after he was incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when he's in Attica still, right?
Yes.
He hasn't moved to Sullivan or.
No, still at Attica.
Mm-hmm.
So this first letter's June 8th, 1979. Dear Dee, you're so funny sometimes, really you are. What do you mean your old age is just around the corner? False teeth, grey hairs, pills, eyeglasses, a walking cane. For you, maybe in another 40 years. Heck, you're only 29 and a half. Make it 29 and three-fourths for now. You've got a long way to go before things like these are upon you. Judging from pictures of you, your beauty, your pep, vigor, sex appeal, and youthful mind, why, you're just a kid. I got letters 60 and 61 from you, plus the 2 magazines. I also got the 13 stamps. Thanks for all of it.
Now, this is June 8th, 1979, and already there have been 61 letters. Interesting. That would be very rich to have all of them. 61 letters.
Oh, I see what you mean, Eric. Yes.
Yeah, I got
letters 60.
60.
Yeah, I wonder why he only gave them a few. Yeah, it's
He
interesting.
gave him 7, maybe because these 7.
She was writing to him a lot by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and he was answering her. You see what I mean about not having everything and people making money off of this? And who knows? Maybe David Berkowitz still has copies.
Oh, I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
Dee, getting back to Ted, I would like to see the book when and if it comes out. I also have questions about the victims. Do you, from your extensive investigation into the Bundy case, think that he also murdered Alice Perry? If you remember, Eric, we covered this a few weeks ago when we did the Alice Perry stuff.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
She was a teenage girl from California who was found slain and left on top of a church altar somewhere in that state. I would also be interested in knowing about the victims, such as, were any of them true Christians? If you know any of this information, I would appreciate hearing about it.
Now, may I say, he's interested in knowing if any of them were true Christians. In other words, I think it's beyond Christian belief. He's wondering if because they were Christians, they were made sacrificial lambs for something. They were chosen because of that to be murdered.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that Alice Perry was a kind of self-styled militant, for people converting to the right way. I mean, at least when she was in North Dakota. you know, and
Very interesting.
she had gone with a friend to a certain area near Bismarck to meet these people. But we never get a big, proper, full, organic definition as to who they were. Of course, he said she was the teenage girl from California. He should have said she was the teenage girl in California. But I think she's older than a teenage girl at this time. Or she might have just still been in her later teens. She was married,
Mm-hmm.
because her maiden name is Dimek, I think. It's a Polish name or Slavic. Go ahead.
Your beliefs about the relationship between Bundy and witchcraft are most interesting. Too bad you ripped up that first letter. Seriously, I doubt if the police would have been interested in your theories. No offense, but they probably would have branded you a crackpot. They're more down to earth. However, I personally believe you had some good factual and perhaps very accurate information. Dr. Abrahamson will be visiting me on Tuesday and Wednesday, June 12th and 13th. It should be interesting. I've also enclosed a list of his books. Many of them were bestsellers. For your information, his address is Dr. Abrahamson, MD, 1035 Fifth Avenue, New York, 128. And here we've got a list of those books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And New York, Manhattan, New York. Scroll down. There was something there that interested me. Oh, I want to ask you, since you've studied Bundy, I haven't. Did you ever come across, until this letter or this correspondence between Berkowitz and Channel, of Bundy being involved or an interest in the occult?
Nope.
So that's
absolutely not.
That's only
that's D-Channel.
A surmise on her part.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Absolutely nothing about witchcraft on Bundy's case.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard Bundy talking about witchcraft. I've never heard anything about any occult-related paraphernalia found at crime scenes, which is suggested further on in these letters.
Mm-hmm.
No. Ted blamed pornography, Eric.
Yeah.
He blamed being subjected to pornography at a young age, violent pornography at that.
Yeah, that can.
Whether there's any truth to that or it's a cop out, just like the demons with Berkowitz, it's the pornography with Ted.
Well, you never know how these things affect the mind of a young child, which is, you can easily manipulate the innocence of a child, because a child has a very interesting imagination if you know how to handle a child.
Many factors.
Now, here's where I would have no concern for Abrahamson. Nixon versus Nixon. Richard Milhous Nixon, the president of the United States, was never his patient. So that's where these guys are out to make money. When these psychologists or psychiatrists, when they write books like that, that's like saying I have a heart problem. That a cardiologist writes about our respective hearts, but he's never been our cardiologist. You see what I mean? It's absurd.
I didn't realize how many books Dr. A had written until I looked at these. I mean,
yeah, I didn't know of these books. I never knew of these other books. You see, they must be.
You got Crime in the Human Mind, Men, Mind and Power, The Mind and Death of a Genius, Report of Study 102, Sex Offenders in Sing Sing Prison, Who Are Guilty, A Study of Education and Crime, The Road to Emotional Maturity, Psychology of Crime, The Emotional Care of Your Child, Our Violent Society, The Murdering Mind, Nixon versus Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got some pictures of those books here for visuals.
Mm-hmm.
See that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I say, I didn't realize how many books that guy had written. And there's more. He also did one on Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, that's another one like Nixon. Jack the Ripper was never his patient. I wonder who he considered Jack the Ripper to be. Sickert, the painter, somebody from the royal family, or God only knows who.
So yeah, lots of books from Dr. A. Next letter, June 13th.
Now, this is 7 days later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dear Dee, you really are a sweetheart. Your letter, number 62, was one of the nicest I've ever received from you. I mean, they're all nice, but this one was the nicest of the nice. After reading it, I felt good all over. So I called you dearest in one of my letters. Well, I didn't realize I said that, which goes to show you just how I feel about you. I wrote it unconsciously, and that means I really like you a lot and more. If I had written it on purpose, then it wouldn't seem genuine. By the way, I've never called anyone that before. Backwoods is doing a bit of flirting here with D, isn't he?
Mm-mm.
You know, you're the best, most honest Christian lady I've ever met. Actually, I've never met anyone like you before. Now listen, I'm not trying to inflate your ego. I'm just saying this because it's true. In Beth Haven Church, all the Christian ladies sat there with their beehive hairdos and their prune faces.
Now, the beehive hairdo would be, I think, down south. Is that where he was, down south?
Yeah, they had big old hair.
Yeah, oh yeah, the girls. I remember even a country and western trio, Nancy Griffith, who's now dead, and two others. They say, "Oh yeah, real high." There was beehives, the beehive hairdo that the Southerners would still wear after it was not considered the mode. Yeah,
I'm not saying that they weren't genuine or sincere Christians. I'm sure they were, but they lacked a lot of the natural joy and spontaneity that you possess. You're not as fanatical or fundamental. You're more open-minded, but not liberal-minded.
now that's interesting because down there, that's all those people know. That's their culture. That's a culture there. That down south in that area, whereas D, she's in California, she's in San Francisco. Very interesting.
Those Baptist ladies sat there with their Bibles and smiles on their faces, but they had no deep joy. None of that natural stuff. I don't think they would appreciate a walk through the woods in dungarees or a stroll on the beach with their shoes off. What I'm trying to say is you're a better Christian than them. They're too rigid. They wouldn't bend. To them it's stay home, read the Bible, go to church, raise a family, etc. To you, however, it appears that enjoyment comes freely and natural. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird, Eric.
Mm-hmm. It's okay up to there. That he's complimenting what he perceives to be her, and after all, we have to say it's probably true. I mean, this is in answer to letter 62 now.
Well, here he says, I'm glad to hear that you had a rotten childhood. It was nice to hear how the priest molested you.
I'm sorry. This is the one I was looking for. This is sick. This is the one I was looking for. I'm glad you found it. I remember he wrote to her about that.
Mm-hmm.
Start again. I'm sorry if I interrupted. It just I was looking for this and I couldn't find it. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that you had a rotten childhood. It was nice to hear how the priest molested you and how you got knocked up at 15. I'm glad, or rather, I was glad to hear that your father beat your ass often. That's just great, Dee. Lucky you.
Okay.
Is he being sarcastic here, or what?
No. I think there's something quite sick here. I think this is, to use the name that Irene gave him, the Lord of Life. He takes you in, and then he feels he can, in one way or another, here, it's not murder, disposes of you. There's something very sick here. This is not sarcasm. He's being descriptive here. It's not being sarcastic. Sarcastic would be, oh, so you got a rotten childhood. So do the apples get rotten. What makes you so special? This is sick. Yes. I remember we might have even, I remember reading this. Yeah, this is very, very weird. Very weird.
It's weirder.
And it's part of his mind. You know how I said with the time zone, he goes back and forth about alone with others. Here, there's a different type of back and forth. He thinks that she's the greatest Christian, And you would think that he recognizes what it is to be a Christian, and then look at this talk.
I wish more people had your problems. This way they would appreciate life more. Too many things have been taken for granted by some. It seemed like all those ladies in Bethaven never had a problem. Never had a problem. They all seem to have been brought up in Christian homes, blessed with loving parents, lovely Bible studying kids, etc. I don't think they would be capable of truly understanding someone who's committed adultery, theft, or some other unlawful deed. Understand? It's very passive aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah, and he doesn't know what those women down there go through with their private lives behind closed doors. He doesn't know. So he's giving us generalizations of what he believes are the lives of these people. And also, if he's a Christian, why should he, here it goes back to his childhood and home life. Christian homes, blessed with loving parents, lovely Bible studying kids. A lot of it might be even opposite to what he knew, and yeah, he's it for me, he's a twisted Christian here.
Who could have appreciated his sight more than the blind man whom Jesus and his disciples healed? Mark chapter 8, verses 22 to 26, and Mark chapter 10, verses 46 through 52. Who could have appreciated it more than the lame man who was finally healed and could thus walk? Acts chapter 3, verses 2 to 10. Who could have appreciated the restoration of her mental, emotional, and spiritual health as a Samaritan woman by the well? So likewise, you appreciate life, nature, and God more because of your past. You may not realize this, but you do. What do you make of that, Eric?
Well, it's funny. You see, he's saying 3 paragraphs above that he's glad to hear of her pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That contradicts
what he says next.
This paragraph alone.
Yeah, it's like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, which is quite true.
Yeah.
People can admire and be brought to faith by, look, I think we've lost the capability of miracles. We have it within us. But yes, it is true that the man who was blind appreciates it more than those of us who've always had sight, and so forth. The lame man, the deaf and dumb person, the mentally ill. But this is it's almost as if you've hurt a person and then you say, well, I'm gonna
make it better. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he doesn't, I don't know, maybe he knows psychology, maybe he doesn't, but he's hurt her.
He's twisted.
Yeah, he's taking joy in her pains, and then he it's almost as if he's out to control her, wrap her around his finger, like, I'm gonna.
It's very narcissistic.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you feel hurt about what happened to you. I'm gonna make you reflect upon what happened to you, and then she has to. It's like these psychological groups that make
soften the blow.
Yeah, somebody brought up Synanon, things like that. I'm going to have you appreciate and know just what you went through, because that's the only way you can feel well and be a Christian, because of what you suffered.
Kind of like, you need me, D.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how it is, but then I'm going to soften the blow, tell you what you want to hear.
Now he's giving you another picture here.
I now have another picture to add to me collection. The Gentile beachcomber. Boy, that seashore looks wonderful, cool and refreshing. And that lovely mountain in the background that tops with lush green vegetation. Fantastic. Ecstasy. Pure beauty. It's just very over the top, isn't it?
Mm.
Have I left something out? Oh, yeah, you. Sorry about that. You're beautiful too. Really, you are. What is that all about, Eric?
Well, he
sorry about that.
He's playing with her. It's a kind of flirtation. He says, "Oh, have I left something out? Oh, yes, but you're beautiful too. It's not just."
It's
Uh,
very, very strange.
yeah, He's playing with people.
Dee, hang in there. Don't give up. I know your job is a hassle and that it lacks meaning and fulfillment. Just hang in there. All my love and friendship, David.
Now,
8/12/79.
uh-huh. So we're now in August. This is the third letter, and we're in August now. Right? Was this the third one?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Yeah. Now, this is what's interesting. Um, you see, to really, really fully understand what he's written there, we have to have her letters.
Yes, that's a problem.
You see, that's the problem. So we're only surmising at the most, conjecturing. We can't have suppositions, hypotheses, or theories. But
Well,
yeah.
yeah. We get into serial killers soon, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit of back and forth. Now, this says June 23rd, 1979, Saturday.
Now, it seems to be every 7 days almost that he's writing, or at least what we have here with these 7 letters.
Dear Dee, the article about shy murderers was very good. However, I'm not as psychotic as the writer claims. Gee, I don't know what to say about it. Most of the circumstances that cause sudden and violent outbursts do relate to me, but not all of them. Inconsiderate neighbors was certainly a major cause for my actions. Sam Carr's dog barking all day and night without a break did have a very bad effect on my mind. Anyhow, it's too late now. Yesterday, I mailed out a sermon from your favorite religious tabloid, The Sword of the Lord. That old geezer is still firing up his self-righteous sermons and scaring the heck out of people with terrifying words. This is probably why the basically Southern Hellfire style of religion is still in existence in this enlightened age. People love being scared to death. They love safe, controlled terror. It's true. I wonder if David ever knew about Jim Jones.
That took place after the Son of Sam. Well,
November 78 was Jonestown Massacre.
mm-hmm. It took place.
I'm sure he would have heard about it.
I was living in Italy, and I'll never forget Paese Sera. It was, remember when newspapers used to come out in the afternoon edition?
No, I don't know.
I'll never forget the front page. Is this a CIA? Imagine a newspaper in Europe saying, "Is this a CIA?"
Well, Bundy was very paranoid about the CIA by the recordings I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
We should go over those tapes one day, Eric.
Oh, yeah. Operation is what it is.
And I think that's what basically stopped a lot of the, people at Jonestown from escaping, because he'd made them so paranoid that if they left, they'd be killed by the CIA, and he brainwashed them to think that everyone was out to get them.
Well, there were military people there. John Judge. I have the article in an edition of Critique, a journal of metaphysics and conspiracy that was put out by a chap called Bob Banner. There were Black God and Green Berets down there on some mission. So there's a lot there, a great deal there that still has to be uncovered. And the fact that Jim Jones might have been intimate with Dan Mitrione, who came also, I think, from Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
another deep dive, Eric.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, yes,
because that's what I was studying Jim Jones before I got into this Son of Sam stuff. Kind of took a detour, but I'd like to get back into it eventually.
Yeah, but these letters are fascinating. Go ahead, love.
What's the most exciting attraction in an amusement park?
Wait, you're skipping 2 paragraphs.
Sorry, this is probably... No, I read that one.
Yesterday.
No, I read that.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah. What's the most exciting attraction in the amusement park? The roller coaster and the spook house? In New York City, the Coney Island amusement park is famous for its frightening roller coaster. Most of these places are. This is interesting. What movies do people flock to see? Scary movies, of course. The Exorcist, Omen, Jaws, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Rosemary's Baby, another box office smash, etc. Because there's a certain person out there that writes blogs that likes to say that David couldn't have signed Rosemary's Baby on his military application form. But here you have David talking about Rosemary's Baby. So, what do you make of that, Eric?
You mean the person who has a blog and said that he could have
Yes.
written?
Mm-hmm.
I think that person whom I had spoken to was perhaps saying that on a military record they would not have permitted that.
Right. David Berkowitz was a well-known prankster, though.
Yeah.
Eric.
In other words,
He's saying here, Rosemary's Baby says it countless times in these letters. Not D, I'm talking about, but I've seen him reference Rosemary's Baby a lot. So it's not out of the question that he may have been messing about and wrote that, unless he said to the person filling out the forms or whatever, and they pranked him and put Rosemary's Baby. Either they did it or he did it.
If they did it and you said they pranked him, is he the baby of Rosemary?
Well, he thought he was a demon child, didn't he? There is a mysterious mental element buried somewhere in our minds.
Hold on a minute. Notice, I should have brought this up. Notice that there are certain paragraphs and lines that he's highlighting.
Yes, a lot of highlighted paragraphs.
Yeah, and this one is kind of on the right of me. He's got a big bracket, and very light, it's written fear for this paragraph.
Yep.
Or is it tear? Because it's
fair.
Yeah, it's an interesting F. It actually looks like what a juggler can do.
A
pole rotating a plate. That's what the F looks like.
I wonder if they're Abrahamson's scriggles.
I don't know, but it looks like...
It says fair, definitely. It wouldn't say tear, would it? It's not torn.
TEA.
It's definitely fair.
Yeah, but that's an unusual F. It looks like a pole with a juggler who can rotate a plate on a high pole. I don't see the F lines coming out toward the right, but it could be tear. Well, let's read the letter. Maybe there's a hint in it.
There is a mysterious mental element buried somewhere in our minds. This is the mental emotion called fear.
So
being scared to death once in a while seems to clean out our heads. After a good scare, we drift back into regular monotonous routines of life. We escape through this particular emotion. We reaffirm our self-worth and our vulnerability to sudden tragedy. We realize in our brief periods of helpless fright that we are not immortal. We aren't gods. Fear helps out and further develops our egos. Believe me, I know. I'm an old horror film addict myself. I guess this repent or burn religion which probably is a distorted version of true Christianity and a satanic counterfeit, has been so successful simply because it plays on one of humanity's most needed emotions, which we unconsciously seek out for our own mental well-being, the emotion of fear. Another reason for the success of the hellfire type of religion is that we assure ourselves that we will one day get punished for the tens of thousands of sins we committed without ever being discovered. This is a bit cringe. Daddy, I've been so naughty, punish me, spank me good, 'cause I deserve it. This is how we compensate mentally for the continuation of the father when we're in adulthood. Although we're adults, we are also kids who, even at the age of 75, need a good whipping once in a while. Oh my God.
So he brings up there here, Daddy, not Mommy. And there's the Roman numeral 9 on the side.
Twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very random.
Well, it is true. I mean, I have realized, years ago when I was much younger, a friend of mine in Italy said, he was a count. He says, "Well, what can be positive about fear is that it's a test that proves your courage to overcome it." And fear is quite many times is quite illusionary.
I'll hand it to Dave. He's very good at writing.
Oh yes, and of course, people wrote well back then.
Yes.
They wrote well back then. No texting, no little sound bites.
Imagine having to communicate the way they used to. How we, nowadays it's so instant, isn't it? That back then you had to wait days and days to get a one reply,
and it
or
was
even weeks.
and it was beautiful to get it. It,
Yeah,
it
I do miss writing actual real letters.
mm-mm.
Unconscious guilt cries out for punishment. I've got one bad number sins that I have atoned for. I know what a bum I've been. Punish me, yes. I know what it feels like to have committed an abundance of evil deeds and got away with every one of them. Behold, your sins will find you out. Believe me, deep within our unconscious minds, we've already found ourselves guilty.
Now, oh, well, wait, he's quoting someone. I've got 1,622,975 sins. Is he speaking
That's
first
a lot.
as
That's a
an
lot of sins.
yeah? But is he quoting someone else,
Sounds
or
like it.
or is it him?
He does put a lot of things he says in quotations marks of Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, look up there, Daddy. I've been so naughty. All
Well,
right,
that
I ain't
that
gonna read it.
yeah. Well, that's I okay. Good. I'm glad you referred back to Daddy. That's his. That's a dialogue that he's written. I think the
Mm,
sentences are dialogues, not quotations from somebody else.
very cringy.
Mm. Same letter, page two.
Simply, we need some authoritarian figure, like our pious neighborhood minister. He always seems to live right, to scold us good and rebuke us, like the famous Santa Claus song. You better watch out, you better not cry, blaspheme, lust after envy, hate, or else. D, I just wanted you to know that I'm not getting this out of some psychology book. This came off the top of my head because I've been through all this in my life. I'm doing just what you told me to do. Sit behind the typewriter and go. You're right. You spelt you're wrong. I can't stop. Oh well, you've got nothing to do anyway but loaf around. Why not give your mind some exercise and read my letters? Do it before your brains get rusty.
No,
That's
wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're right. I can't stop. Oh well, you. He's talking to her, or is he talking to himself? You've got nothing to
her
do
thing.
away but loaf around. Why not give your mind some exercises and read my letters? Do it before your brains get rusty. It's almost as if it's ambiguous. It's both speaking to himself and to her.
That's enough. It's break time. Those California newspapers you read are really something. San Francisco Chronicle, Sacramento. He's crossed out tomato juice. Sacramento Bee. They seem to have so many interesting stories about the things that interest you and your line of work. New York papers are dull, dull, dull. I guess the West Coast papers have to print articles which relate and have interest to the general public of gays, sexual deviants, Satanists, weirdos, nude bathers, crazies, hippies, yippies, zippies, and homicidal maniacs, which make up the bulk of California's population. Honestly, you're the only sane one out there. Even you get a little bit boggy sometimes. I guess it must be the air. Polluted.
I'd like to see an example of what he shows when she's buggy. Because another name for an insane asylum is the bug house.
Well, if you remember a few months ago, I showed that video clip of her saying that, when she died, her and David are going to live in eternal heaven together. I'm paraphrasing her.
Excuse my yawn. I'm not tired or bored. Just the weather. Okay, I'm sorry.
D, I started to read The Bronx Diet last night. Goodness, where do you find these things? It's funny as can be. I love it. You know, the Jewish Mother book. After I read it about 5 times, After I read it about 5 times, I sent it to my dad. It was his Father's Day gift and he loved it. The other Jewish joke book I sent to my jovial Uncle Lou. He loved that one. He was very close to his Uncle Lou, wasn't he?
Yes, I remember that. Hmm.
I'll get them back when they visit. I hope you're not mad. I just had to share it with someone who'd appreciate them. I'd never give books like these to other inmates because they couldn't appreciate them. They'd rather read muscle magazines and comic books. That's how shallow they are. So many of them, their lives are void of spontaneity and wholesome humor. When they laugh, it's because they've just heard a dirty joke. Religion is another game to them. They can't grasp it. It's a joke. The occult is also a joke. Demons, ha ha ha. Life is a game to them, and that's why they're here. They didn't think of those 10 years they'd behaved to have served before the gas station was robbed. Likewise, they'd never think of God until it's time to meet him. D, I'm going to end here, but I will try to write again Sunday. I'm sure we'll find, or rather, I will find plenty of things to write about tomorrow.
Now, that sentence there, religion is another joke to them. They can't grasp it. It's a joke. The occult is also a joke. Demons, ha ha ha. That refers to where he claims that he had to desist from the demon story and barking dogs because all they would do sometimes is make fun of him.
Yes, with Harvey.
Yeah.
So we have another letter here, July 25th, 1979.
So it doesn't take place till the end of the next month.
Dear D, I heard on the news at 11 p.m. that Bundy was found guilty and could face a death penalty, which he'll probably get. Are you happy? Is he really an occult killer? Did he sacrifice these women to the devil? You had sent me the articles from some West Coast newspaper and the Star saying or expressing the theory that those 6 or 7 women who were slain in California, Washington, and Oregon were done by an occult killer. My evidence, while I'm no professional, indicates that Theodore Bundy, if he did kill those girls on the West Coast, and he very well may have, did it for deep-seated mental and emotional reasons and not for the devil.
So he is discarding
Yes.
that it was for occult reasons or for worshiping Satan or the devil, if you prefer. Now, these 6 or 7 women who were slain, um, I, we don't have their names. We don't have what she's referring to. It would be interesting. And are they were they ever related to Bundy? Or
No.
no?
They were just college girls. All right.
My God, 6 or 7 people murdered, man. You know, just like stepping on ants. Oh well. Oh God.
First, let me say the sheriff who revealed to the press the so-called occult aspects of the case must have come under some extensive criticism from his superiors. I don't believe that he was taken very seriously by the press either. Even more damning was his theory that the killer may be the infamous Zodiac Slayer. No doubt the shit hit the fan when he blurted this out to the press. This could have started a panic and probably brought the Washington police under a lot of fire. If Ted Bundy was the Ted who was sought after by the police, and if that sheriff actually found some weathered evidence that occult aspects were involved in the case, then, in all probability, Bundy committed those crimes. However, despite the finding of occult artifacts and symbols, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Bundy was only playing a game. It was a ploy, a typical action of a true psychopath. I'd watched and read a lot about Bundy, and I had never seen anything in regards to any occult style objects found at crime scenes. All right.
That's interesting. Read
Yeah.
that again. Read that again.
What, the paragraph I just read?
No, no, not the paragraph. That sentence about occult objects at crime scenes.
Yeah, no, I've never heard that, Eric.
Mm. Where is that again? I've lost it. What paragraph is that?
It
Is
says
it
if Ted Bundy was that Ted who's sought after by
right?
police,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and if the sheriff actually found some weathered evidence that occult aspects were involved in the case, then, in all probability, Bundy committed those crimes. However, despite the findings of occult artifacts or symbols, Bundy was only playing a game. It was a ploy, a typical action of a true psychopath.
Yeah, but you see, why all of a sudden, if it was Bundy, see, he's being objective. He's saying it could be Bundy, but if it was Bundy, why would Bundy suddenly decide to use occult artifacts or symbols? Why would he change his modus operandi, his persona?
I don't believe Bundy ever left occult objects. If anyone has any information that I've never heard, please share it.
Mm.
I have never heard anything of this. If Ted Bundy was, oh yeah, I've read that one. Let's take a look at all those West Coast slangs and some of the other 25 or so possibilities that Bundy is also suspected of pulling off. He's suspected, as you know, of approximately 36 killings.
And he would be found for that, you told me.
Yes. I read at the beginning. If you're 6 or 7 involved the occult, why not all the others? What about these 2 recent ones in Florida? These appear to be nothing but vicious sex crimes, using a bat as a weapon, committing rape and sodomy, biting the victims in the breasts and buttocks. So, were these occult aspects? I see nothing but a brutal crime committed by someone with homicidal rage. The Florida killings look like the work of a typical psychopath with a tremendous hatred for women and a very deep desire for revenge. Also, an extreme form of repressed sexual desire with a passion for degradation of the female body and personality. And he's exactly right.
Yeah, and it's very frightening, really, that then you go to Florida and there are these women murdered by, well, it's not Bundy, right? He's not
It was
saying
Bundy. It was Bundy.
Bundy did that in Florida,
Yes, he went to Florida. Yep.
but it's so,
That's where he got caught.
yeah, it's so frightening though to think that
Well, I think the youngest victim, Kimberly, was like 15.
yeah, you're going about your life and all of a sudden a predator gets you and these things happen. It's very frightening, very dark.
It's amazing these serial killers, they want this dominion over others, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, they do.
It's really crazy, Eric. It's what's always fascinated me. How no two serial killers are the same either, are they?
No, because each person has a distinct personality.
Victims.
They all have their distinct own type of personality, their own way. There can be similarities, but they're not exactly the same. They're
Here's
not.
an interesting paragraph. Here's another part of my theory. The West Coast victims may not have been chosen at sheer random, such as the Son of Sam killings. So here he's saying, the Son of Sam killings were completely random.
Now that is very interesting. Hmm. Do you think they were?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
I know he was scouring the areas, don't get me wrong, but the victims were definitely random.
Well,
An
random as
opportunist.
much as maybe he, or as I believe others, said, okay, this is whom we're going to hit in 5 days. This is the woman. But I'm rather, I don't think the attack on Denaro and Keenan was random, and I don't think Virginia Vascarishian was random. But it's interesting that.
According to some sources, Ted was seen talking to some of the victims before they went off with him to be slain. He questioned them. He selected them. They met his approval. So what Ted used to do, like at Lake Sammamish, he'd put his arm in a fake cast sling, and he would approach these girls and say, can you help me with my sailboat? My arm's in a sling. And the girls would be like, yeah, great. Will you give me a ride in your sailboat? And Ted was very charming, very handsome, very charming, very intelligent. Why would they have suspected him of being a killer, Eric?
They don't. That's why, the old saying, a wolf in sheep's clothing. He looked like a Prince Charming, and that's what makes it so horrific. How the innocence of people is taken advantage of, and despite what you see on the outside, inside you've got something horrendously corrupt and cold and evil.
Well, I mean, look how innocent David's face is, and he says he used that face to his advantage. He had a very cherub type look, didn't he?
Yeah, and also the exterior good looking, the exterior look of someone who commits these crimes, Berkowitz, Bondi, or so, is really a sadistic look when you think of what happens. It's a look of joy and calm and peace that they're going to have what they need to murder and torture and just rape and do whatever heinous acts they want to their victims.
I would love for someone to do a body language expert do David's body language. No one's ever done that, as far as I know.
No, but I did notice a change in his body language when he was speaking to Maurice Dubois. And it's the only interview I know of relative to my experience, I alone, where he never says I was alone or I was with others. He avoids Dubois, as I've told you and others before. That's where the body language changes. He's talking and he's asked that question. And he goes this way, he goes that way. It's not like calm looking down and then up. He shifts in that interview. I still think that interview is interesting because he does not answer I was with others or I was alone as he does in other interviews. Very interesting, that.
Well, I've noticed with Maury Terry, especially in the 1997 Son of Sam Speaks, he squishes his eyes up and he purses his lips, and when Maury asks him a question, it's like a kid with their fingers in their ear, like, don't want to hear it, don't want to hear it, don't want to hear it. And he looks down with his eyes closed and his mouth all tensed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You never notice that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like he doesn't want to really say anything, so he's like trying to close his mouth so no words come out.
Yeah, it's kind of that's the interview where he's not talking as much as in previous interviews.
Yeah,
He's like going, yes.
Yeah, he's very basic.
That was the place. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of huffing and puffing and avoidance.
Yeah, and so much for a man that had to live in danger of being murdered for being a rat and others wanting to kill him in jail. They would have killed him. They would have killed him.
I was just going to say, I remember watching Josh Seaman's documentary, and there's an outtake from that interview, and David saying to Maury, how long is this going to take? And Maury said like a couple of hours, and David was like, yo, man, this is painful for me to keep going over. Why do you think people are going to want to sit there for this length of time listening to me talk about this stuff? David just wasn't feeling that interview for some reason, Eric.
At the same time, he didn't say, as he could have legally, I don't want to be interviewed.
I'm just looking at the chat for a minute because I've kind of been. I'm so sorry. I'm in the other screen. We got Forensics of Evil over here.
Oh, that's yeah. I know who that is.
I'm not ignoring you, chat. I'm just in another screen the whole time. Right, where was I? Question: were the victims at your end Christians or members of any occult group? I asked you this before. This would help me to draw a conclusion. The next clue is at the time of Bundy's capture by the highway patrolman in Utah. Obviously, Ted, was out hunting and prowling at the time. And that's where that book that David sent to Terry Gardner, where David scribbles, Arliss Perry stalked and slain, followed to California.
Mm-hmm.
And I think David suspected Ted of Arliss Perry's killing, obviously. Here he's saying, obviously, Ted, was out hunting and prowling at the time. And we know Ted was crossing state lines to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think David genuinely thought that Ted killed Arliss, as did the police at one point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When they checked his car, I don't recall the police finding any items related to because even David knew that. Even David knew that. I don't recall them finding any items related to the occult. Symbols, medallions, book, clothing, etc. So even David knows there's no occultic objects.
Because it's never been reported. She's just surmising that.
According to a detective magazine and also what you've sent me, all they found in his Volkswagen were criminal implements, rope, handcuffs, ski mask, knife, club, etc. And they had an ice pick, which was found with Arliss Perry. That's why they suspected Ted, the ice pick, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, he would kill his victims, deposit them in some remote area, his usual MO, and come back from time to time in order to fulfill some gloating emotions, to pray for them in a satanic type of ritual, and to leave those alleged cult signs. But I'm left with only speculative guesses until you let me know otherwise.
Okay, so he's speculating, though, still about the occult. Nevertheless, you see what I mean? Don't go up yet. Go down, back down. He's speculating there about the occult.
Yeah, until you show me otherwise, I think Ted had just your normal kill kit.
But yeah, he just says, I'm only speculative. But he's speculating, though. He's taking it into consideration. And then go down. I want to show you something here. This is interesting. Go down. You see, he says, were the victims at your end Christians or members of any occult group? I asked you this before. Now, that's a number of letters back, and he still doesn't get an answer from her.
Yeah. Maybe she's just making stuff up, Eric.
Well,
being a bit loopy. Seeing things that aren't there, Eric.
But you see, if she was loopy and he's an intelligent man, why would he compose long letters like this that are actually coherent and full?
Boredom?
I don't know.
Page 2. Another part to my theory is with the search of Bundy's apartment. I believe it was in Washington. The only odd things they found in the place were kitchen utensils that were hanging on meat rack hooks. This was his only odd quirk. There is no mention of anything related to any type of occult group. Is it possible that Bundy could have attempted some type of occult group? Yes. Sorry, let me read that again. Is it possible that Bundy could have attended some type of occult group? Yes. I think he did, and more than once. However, I believe he was just a passive member. Let me explain. I've never heard, in all the interviews I've ever seen of Bundy, he has never talked about being in any occult groups, Eric.
So we have to ask this. Wait, that's an interesting paragraph. We've never heard anything about him, but David wants proof. Yet at the same time, he thinks he did, and more than once. You know what's just occurred with me with these letters, maybe? So that paragraph there? David may actually be playing and talking about himself.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Think of that. Think of that. He may be actually speaking about himself through the character of Bundy.
Well, he goes on to give examples there, like, on secular college campuses, occult and other strange religious groups and cults flourish. Decent Christian groups such as Campus Crusade for Christ are there too. Both of them are evangelical, and that they try to recruit members and witness to potential converts. And I know Ted Bundy was part of was it Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
He was a Mormon?
Mm-hmm. For a
Mm.
short time. There's some interviews on YouTube. His
Was he born a Mormon?
no, there's some interviews on YouTube. Some of his Mormon friends that
Do you,
yeah,
do you recall
no,
yourself as religion of birth?
just Catholic.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If Teddy ever hung out around Washington State University campus, I have no doubt that he, like everyone else, was approached by some type of occult group. And I think this is how David learned about the Process Church, Eric. I think they were giving out literature because there's that clip of him saying, I learned about the process. I've got leaflets on them.
That's right.
However, I believe I know Bundy, his personality and mind better than most people because I am what he is. A psychopathic personality. This is not one who is crazy, but one who is clever, shrewd, cunning, and mischievous. I am this type of person, but I'm also trying to change. Bundy hasn't reached this stage yet. He's still totally enmeshed with his antisocial personality and refuses to yield to any of his positive aspects. He does, believe it or not, have many positive traits. If he'd stop killing, stop conniving, and stop being so damn cocky, then you'd see his better side. I find this so fascinating. A serial killer talking about another serial killer.
Well, I think it's very much a revelation of himself also. Very much a revelation of himself
A
through
psycho.
through Bundy, through
Through
Bundy.
Bundy, yeah. A psychopath, especially in his zenith, just before his capture and immediately after it, becomes the biggest con artist and most cunning bum that you could imagine.
There's David.
I know this via personal experience.
See?
Burke and Teddy, those two baby-faced, innocent-looking but monstrous creatures, can lie with such ease that anyone can be fooled. We make the most straight-faced, convincing liars imaginable. It's our nature and makeup. Gacy from Chicago, killer of 33 boys, is one of our lethal group too.
Oh my.
That's amazing.
Can I read the next paragraph?
Yeah, do it, Eric. Read more.
Yeah. Functional psychopaths are people that can kill and kill with extreme brutality again and again. Functional psychopaths. That's interesting. I don't know the term, but
Like a functional alcoholic, but a functional psychopath.
yeah. Yet after a night out in a killing spree, can go to work and next day without the slightest trace of guilt. Above suspicion are they. Sounds strange? Does it sound devilish? Yes, it's devilish, and we are the devils. We are the real demons, disguised as nice guys or angels of light. However nice we're not. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Behind Bundy's mask. Oh, one thing I want to point out. Look how the Roman numeral is decreasing from 9 to 8. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Behind Bundy's mask is a sick mind that, like myself, is continually churning up violent thoughts. And we've seen his violent thoughts. We've seen them. What he said to Dee back there about being raped by a priest. What he said in elsewhere that he would like to dig up
Very sadistic.
the cadavers of young women who had been murdered and rip the bones and whatever's remaining in the coffin to pieces. So he can't realize this because he refuses to face and admit his guilt, which will surface one day. He's got too much spunk in him and he won't stop fighting. I faced myself already. This is why I'm working with Dr. Abrahamson and am now on his side. He saw this long ago, and now I see it myself. But this is very good and positive to be aware so I can correct my life. However, I now see this same problem with Bundy.
Hmm. Very fascinating, Eric.
Yeah, I'll read
I've
this.
never seen a serial killer talk like another serial killer.
No,
Before.
no, he's examining himself. He's examining himself through the persona of Bundy. He's trying to explain himself by explaining Bundy and a generalization of serial murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Stotland. Coincidentally, Bundy did speak with the man as soon in the slipping in the clipping you sent me, as seen in the clipping you sent me. That evil professor of Satanism may have introduced Sicko Ted to the group, but I don't believe he really took a deep interest in the group. I reached this connection by the fact that nothing relating to the occult was found on Bundy, his car, or his home. Plus, most of the slayings which he's been suspected of committing were outright sex crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
See, David knows.
And is this Professor Stotland? Is he supposed to be a Satanist?
I don't know who the hell Professor Stotland is, Eric. David seems to know though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's almost like therapy for him, isn't it? Talking about these, well,
Yes,
Ted in this.
yeah, he's on the couch.
Yeah.
And he says, D, I agree with you that it is possible and arguable that both of us, Bundy and myself, were under the influence of demonic control. Now, it would be fascinating to have her letter. You see?
Yeah.
You can
Gone
yell,
forever.
yeah, you can yell hallelujah if you want for this admission. However, sometimes I just don't know. I'll tell you more about this in another letter that will shock you. But it wasn't complete demon possession. Ted and I have done crazy things, but we're not madmen. But we're
That's
not.
an understatement.
Yeah. And underneath the Roman numeral 8,
Explore.
explore. All right. Shall I continue?
Yes.
This is difficult to explain, but here's what I mean with regards to Ted. Ted, his psychopathic side, the side whose mind continually churns violent thoughts, was getting to the point in which he finally had to release his violent fantasies. This is David Berkowitz. Now they were ready to surface like a volcano, under pressure, frustrated, vengeful, angry. Here we go. Explosion. This is the extremely explosive yet mysterious, enigmatic event. Mass murder. This is the enigma of the century, the man capable of multiple murder again and again, over and over, yet normal in all respects. Now, when he says normal in all respects, he's saying that the man actually knows what he's doing. He knows what.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why he says normal.
No one's ever suspected David, did they?
No.
How
No.
normal he was at work. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was just Dave the mail sorter.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't sitting in the corner rocking and talking to himself, or
Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, they are insane. They are insane.
They're insane, but they also know what they're doing.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
You know, Berkowitz is discarding what I consider to be crap, and I hate it. Clinical insanity, therefore, not within one's own mind, and you can't execute, you can't imprison them in such and such a way. Well, I'm sorry. The victims come first, clinically or not. Now, despite this violent explosion, this thirst for blood, this vicious and maniacal chain of slayings, Bundy still remained fully cognizant of reality. He remained as sly, shrewd, cunning, and charming as ever. Perhaps these qualities sharpened and improved even more so during this period in which his murderous thoughts and desires surfaced. This is how it happened to me. There, you see? He's describing himself through Bundy. Fascinating. You take over now for some.
Therefore, keeping his bloodlust in mind as well as his high intelligence IQ, it's not hard to understand how these occult symbols appeared on those first 6 or 7 murder scenes. If no occult symbols appeared, then I'm wasting my time. But if they did, and according to Sacramento Bee they did, then it was Bundy, and only a sly fox such as him who would be smart enough to leave those occult signs.
Now,
I
wait.
would love to find this article.
Yeah, so
I'd have to do some digging.
I never heard of occult symbols.
No, never.
And that was from an article
that. And we know, Eric, though, that reporters can stretch things sometimes, can't we? I mean, it's not out the realm of possibility.
But he's saying that she sent him those articles, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying, though, sometimes reporters do get things wrong. Right?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, many people do.
Got to be scandalous.
Mm-hmm.
Theodore Bundy is no devil worshipper! ! Theodore Bundy is no devil worshipper. He merely used, and quite cleverly, left those signs there so that the police, should they find the bodies, immediately be thrown off as lone killers. Bundy has never said he did that. Ever, 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 ever. Mm-hmm. Immediately being thrown off his lone killer's trail by putting the blame on someone heavily involved in the occult. This is why those alleged satanic aspects that sheriff claimed were involved were never fully materialized.
Who's the sheriff he's referring to?
I don't know.
Okay, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting, because during the Son of Sam killings, there are, the letters have symbols, there's cryptic words, and then it also makes me see how, to be thrown off of this lone killer's trail, it makes me think how people deviated maybe to the cause.
Forensics of Evil says Bundy's escape from Colorado was believed by many to have been assisted by accomplices.
Interesting.
Yeah, Bundy escaped twice, all in all, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Michael Joseph Timos of Bethlehem, PA, was believed to have been an accomplice of Bundy. Not much known about him, but I did locate the guy. Oh, very interesting.
Is he still alive?
Who?
Hi, Michael Joseph Tamos. And why was he called?
Bundy's not alive, no.
No, Hi, Michael.
Oh.
And why was he called Hi, Michael? What group was he a part of, Forensics of Evil? Can you give us more information?
We'll keep an eye out, Eric, if he responds. Because I'm in the other screen, as we know.
Well, I'm on the large screen because I want to see these well. Bundy was already laying the ground work for his acquittal even before he was captured, much less made a suspect. But that's his higher intelligence quiz. Bundy, if caught, would say, hey, I don't know nothing about witchcraft. If caught, that he never said that. Don't forget that he knows the law, a need for a motive, and the minimum for conviction, circumstantial evidence. Why, that sly bastard. He read all about the Zodiac Killer, which got very heavy coverage on the West Coast. He read several books on the occult and on satanic practices. Did you ever know that he read those books?
Nope.
Okay, after I finish this paragraph, this is David Berkowitz, really. This is Berkowitz who did that. He saw an unusual sign, a sign that would make those slayings look like the work of another zodiac slayer. The bastard left those signs, symbols, or whatever near the crime scenes. Now, don't forget that there was a Zodiac killer, that the person they called killer in New York. I never knew
Yep.
that. They did say that. Now, the cops found that stuff, and thus went sniffing in another direction, while Bundy, mocking those devil worshippers for their primitive beliefs, went about his business up front, trying to fight white collar crime in Seattle. I'd like to know where that all came from. I'd like to know where all of this came from.
Yeah, I would, because, like I say, I've been studying Bundy since the early 2000s. I've never heard of any occult artifacts, any references from Bundy himself talking about occult groups, devil worshipping. Nada.
So we need B channels correspondence. After I left the first note at my crime scene, its wording did, in fact, send some cops to shake up all known witchcraft groups in the New York area. The theory that I, too, was sacrificing people to the devil was often being surfaced. That symbol I drew, my references to blood, my references to demons and Sam, it could have pointed to a homicidal devil worshipper also. However, I wasn't, and neither is Theodore Bundy.
Now, when you hear David say that, Eric, what do you think? Do you believe him?
I'm going to be truthful. I
I
could.
don't mean to put you on the spot.
You're not putting me on the spot. I could believe him, and I could not believe him. You see, because he's also using Theodore Bundy to exculpate himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not as if he's just writing about Bundy, he's involving himself in Bundy, and do I believe him?
He says, I wasn't, and neither is Theodore Bundy. What do you make of that, Eric?
Well, that he partook in satanic rituals, sacrificing people to the devil, or is it that when someone would be shot, it was a sacrifice to the devil? I do not know. But
And I believe he's in contact with Maury at this point.
I was thinking of that because when I said referring to other people involved in something, I'm thinking already articles came out on the cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of. But here, no, I think, devil worshiper. It's not cryptic. It's quasi cryptic.
Or is it just David saying, I wasn't, and neither is Bundy?
Yeah, I don't think this is a refusal Maury Terry because the intimacy is not yet there. There's not really a profound, tight intimacy yet.
He goes, I know that Bundy killed those girls in Washington, Sonoma County. He's the only one to be capable and clever enough to pull off something like that and to think this stuff up. With everyone thinking that some devil-praying group or demon-praying nuts was a guilty one, then of course Teddy would never be a suspect. If you would try to understand the true, genuine psycho, then all this falls into place.
It almost makes me feel like those who believe David was alone, someone might say, have David associated with the Process Church of the Final Judgment or this group or that group to deviate from saying he was alone. Oh, you skipped the last sentence, I think.
No,
Oh no?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Page 4. It's a long letter, this one.
Bundy will be sent to the electric chair. He will, and you know it. However, this might be the best thing that ever happens, especially for the cops. Since Ted is a jailhouse lawyer and a fighter, he will probably start appeal after appeal. It may be another 5 years before he gets strapped into the chair, but, and I mean but, there is a possibility that he may go through some kind of positive spiritual experience. Florida prisons seem to be invaded with evangelical Christians, and all these inmates seem to be getting saved. Well, maybe Bundy will be singing Praise the Lord 3 years from now, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
If his confinement has the same effect it had on Spinkelink,
Spangle Link.
Sprankelink,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe, just maybe, Bundy will one day announce his crimes publicly. He will confess his sins and admit to every one of his dastardly deeds. If he just stopped running long enough to meditate, to think, to rationalize, well, who knows? Anyhow, encloses some articles on Bundy, and I would like them back in a year or so from now. I bet he never got those back.
Look,
D, I got,
we're up to the hundreds with the letters now.
yeah. D, I got your letters numbered 103, 104. Wow, 103 was a beauty. Thanks so much. I will answer these letters shortly, but in the meantime, let me tell you how you messed up with number 79. I also messed up. It was mostly my fault. But now I found out that you had a story on Bundy in it. At Attica, we are allowed all sorts of porno mags. You're correct. Penthouse, Hustler, Playboy, Club, Gallery, Stag, Screw, and the rest aren't censored. Neither in Saga or Outdoor Life. The problem wasn't in Saga magazine, but in that article. You sent copies of the Bundy story. That's against the rules. First, because they don't allow photocopies. Actually, they do, but not in excessive amounts. Second, because they exposed articles on violence. You see, all of those porno magazines have stories on violence and on criminal behavior, the violent type. And that's what Bundy said, Eric. You know, these violent pornography
Mm-hmm.
magazines and the true detective magazines were like the busty women and
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember as a boy in Famous Monsters, which sometimes had comic blurbs near the monsters, like the Wolfman. As a little boy, I found it eerie. The books that were being sold, sometimes you'd have a woman in her dressing gown or bra and panties, and it would be the murderer, the strangler, the
over
knifer
the top. Yeah.
would be going after the beautiful woman to see beauty
Yep.
desecrated, like somebody with a razor destroying the canvas of a beautiful painting.
Well, Ted said he used to find these magazines like thrown out down alleyways from shops, and him and his friends would come across them. And,
Yeah,
if you're subjected to that from a young age while you're going through puberty, you know, so
right.
I just think some people are born with these tendencies to, has effect on them later in life.
Yeah, yeah, and some
Especially if
aren't.
you've got mommy issues too.
Mm. You see, all of those porno magazines have stories on violence and on criminal behavior, the violent type. Those magazines flourish with stories about James Earl Ray, Charles Manson, Squeaky Fromm, Sirhan Sirhan, Ruby, Speck, DeSalvo, Oswald, and the rest of this motley crew of killers and political assassins. Playboy has the largest selection of homicidal stories of them all, while it's supposed to be the least pornographic.
He says pornographic.
Chronographic, yeah. D, I have a very complete story of the Hillside Strangler case. It's complete with pictures of all the victims plus close up shots, the work of zoom lenses cameras of the victims nude and molested and lying on grassy knolls near roadways. Well, how did he get that? When he says she's not supposed to send those magazines, you know, with violence and everything. But yet he says, I have a very complete story of the Hillside Strangler case. Where did he get that? If
Yeah,
it's,
no internet back then.
yeah, if it's prohibited in, if it is prohibited in jail, where,
Maybe some guards were sneaking stuff in for him, Eric.
uh, oh, here it is. Here it is. The story, factual and not sensational, was in Argosy magazine. So Argosy was a kind of, I think it was a crime magazine. I'm not sure, but it was a well-known magazine, so perhaps they didn't suspect it of being what is
Mm-hmm.
prohibited.
Mm-hmm.
This is uh, like what is that word? Like
Saga.
saga. This is like Saga, a respectable adventure magazine. There, you see. So I need that story on Bundy. So if possible, next time, just send the magazine in its entirety. In this case, they would just thumb through it and never would it come under their suspicion. This is all you have to do. So therefore, if they get the entire magazine, it goes through because they're looking,
Mm-hmm.
not going to go through. But you see, there's a story she has told him about. This is all you have to do. If you ever send this mag, just send it in a large envelope and write, I thought you'd like this magazine. You need something to read, so I'm sending this. I hope you like it. That's it, nothing more. Anytime you want to send me something that's in a fairly lightweight magazine, just send the whole thing. I realize that it could cost a little more, but it will get through. If possible, please send me this magazine, but wait at least 2 months. I also realize that you probably have only one copy. Well, let me know. Now, why does she have to wait 2 months?
I suppose if they're sending too many magazines, they might get suspicious.
Possibly, yeah, quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to hear about all those crazies that are invading Oregon and Idaho. Coincidentally, I had sent you a story on the front page Detective magazine, Eugene, Oregon. He was one of those crazies, no doubt. I hope you like it. Let me know when you receive it. You should have by now. Meanwhile, I understand what you said about my father and me. Wait for another letter. I'll also take your advice in regards to writing. D, I do believe in demons, their power, etc. However, I'm in a position which isn't favorable. I mean, I can't talk about it. I'll explain this in the future.
Okay, that sentence there is one of the time contradictions. In this period, he is also saying that he doesn't believe in demons. He's made it up even to people who might be interviewing him. But to her, intimately saying, I believe in it. And then when she said, he says, I'll take your advice with regards to writing. Writing what? He certainly writes here.
Here we go. Rubenstein hates you and my dad hates you. Why? Number one, you're a Christian. Number two, you sold my letters. Regardless of the motive, regardless that you spent it all on me by sending me books, letters, money orders from stamps, and a whole host of other treats, you sold my letters.
That's vile.
To them, nothing else matters. You're untrustworthy. You're seeking to profit, etc. You broke the sacred code on honesty. I've forgiven you. This is obvious because I still write you. They will never forgive you. You don't need forgiveness, but they feel you do. This is why I was kind of upset when you called Rubenstein. He recognized your name immediately. Instantly, he was on the phone with my dad. They're real close. That channel lady and David are still communicating. My God, she could be selling her letters to Klausner. And as a recent letter so states, David, I have asked you to not write to such lowlifes. She's a newspaper writer. She's seeking to profit. You promise not to write the likes of her anymore.
Please note quotation marks. Okay, now the quotation marks, what? Because he wants her to
This is Dad talking. David, I've asked you not to
right.
write
It
to
says,
such lowlifes.
Yeah, that channel and are still in contact now. Yeah, I
I'm sorry, Dee, they can't forgive you or like you. I don't know what Seth told you over the phone or how nice he seemed. They don't like you, so don't call him.
now Seth is who again?
I don't know who Seth is.
Well, I I mean I find D Channel to be quite disgusting selling letters.
Yeah, she's all snake. Young girl, there is so much more I'd like to say to you, but I shall wait for another letter, yes. P.S. I hope it's a job you will like. Hopefully not like the last. Best wishes. Love, David. 12th of August, 1979.
Well, I think the 12th of August 79 is the date he's put on there that he gave these 7 letters to Abrahamson.
Dear D, I received your letters 105, 106 in a mailgram on Saturday evening. Your letters were so uplifting and a joy to read, so informative and kind. I read them over and over. By now you should have gotten my letters about Bernice, a picture of her, a Bundy letter, and 3 other letters that were mailed, not later than 7th, 28th, I hope. Also, a large envelope with a few booklets on Theosophy. Enjoy it all. I've got so much to write to tell you, I just don't know where to begin.
Why would he want to continue writing to her if she's selling the letters?
Attention.
Mm.
And she's into crime like Bundy, like David, and 105 really got into Bundy. That's wonderful because I'm into him too. Coincidentally, I had sent you a 5-page letter on him. Are these letters? They're all jumbled up, aren't they?
Yeah, it almost seems as if it almost seems as if within one letter, like the previous one, it's I wonder if he rested in between writing certain paragraphs, or even if he didn't. It's almost as if he's entirely embracing her, entirely wants to relate with her, and then suddenly there's a criticism.
The dates are all out. It just seems that they're not being read in order. It's like
Mm.
here he's saying 105 really got into Bundy. That's wonderful because I'm into him too. Well, we know you're into him. We've been reading that. Coincidentally, I'd sent you a 5-page letter on him, mailed 7/28 and written 7/27. I can't keep up with all these dates. Irrelevant. All right. We're reading the content
No,
here,
no,
right?
those 2 letters are written in July, 2 days before the 29th and 1 day before the 29th.
I also want to get into his mind, all of his mind. You're right. He does have multiple personalities. You're right, 100%. I forgot about this part of him in my last letter. However, he can control them at will. Like an actor he is, he could pull any of a number of personalities and guises out of his head and put it into his body. He's brilliant and skullduggerous, but he's also very pernicious when it comes to himself. He is because of his repressed guilt and consciously trying to destroy himself. And again, you're right. He never uses the correct spellings of yours, does he?
Mm.
And again, you're right when you said that he had practically falling apart the seams by now. D. This trial was his indirect way of showing everyone that secretly he wants to die. I never got that feeling from Bundy, though.
That he wants to die?
He did
No.
not want to die. He was trying very hard to get his to get last minute reprieves. He was scared, Eric.
Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they used him to help solve a famous crime. Was it Hillside or Green River?
Well, Green River, but he didn't really give him a lot, to be honest.
Mm.
He just said you should like try and scope out dump sites, which is pretty basic. No, he didn't. He didn't really give them a lot of information, Eric. That's the first book I ever read on Bundy was Riverman. And yeah, my mom gave me that book. I spoke about it in the last video. Riverman.
Mm-hmm.
D, this trial was his indirect way of showing everyone that he secretly wants to die. He didn't want to die. He didn't want an acquittal. He did. Does this seem hard to believe? His shenanigans in court and in jail were his cries for help. They were his cries for punishment and, quite possibly, for death. He's no dummy.
Well, he wants to die, he's saying. Okay. That's the cry for death. Put him out of his misery.
He's no dummy. The most foolish thing to do is to try and defend yourself in court. Bundy is no fool. Squeaky Fromm was, but not Ted. He signed his own death certificate in Florida, and he knew it before his trial began. Besides, he made too many enemies. The judge hated him. Why? Because he knew just what you and me knew or know, that Bundy is a tricky, cunning, and shrewd little weasel. Oh, what? And you're not, Dave, no? He's practically a walking demon. What? And you're not, Dave, no?
Yeah.
Smile, innocent face, and eye winks fooled no one.
Yeah, you see, he's
It's like he's speaking of himself.
As I said, through Bundy, he's speaking of himself.
He was also much too cocky and nasty for the very conservative tastes of Floridians and for the right-wing judge. His vulgarity, his radicalism, was just too much for these law and order folks. No. Bundy was unconsciously begging for punishment for his misdeeds, and punishment he will get. Sizzle, sizzle, southern fried. Wow. Amazing. Well, I hope he's happy, and I hope he publicly confesses rather than chooses to remain a sedulous bastard to his very end. Eternal end.
So
Part
two. You know, this slashing I got, I realize this now. It was metaphysical in nature. It was I who brought it about. That's what he told Abrahamson. It was I who unconsciously willed this for myself. I realize this now, that I was the one who dropped these little hints about someone trying to ice me, about some enemy trying to do me in. My wait for the angel of death, etc. D, this too, does it sound strange? Well, it isn't if you analyze everything in my life and past. This was unconscious at the time when I was doing this hinting. But I now understand this hidden death wish that is also mingled with satanic powers. See the letter dated July 27th, Psychic Experiences.
So is he talking here about getting slashed in prison, right?
Yeah. And he wrote that letter to her.
So he thought someone was going to maybe try and make a name for themselves.
Well, I don't know if they were going to try and make a name for himself, or they wanted to. Well, whether they wanted to or not, the name would be made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now we don't have that July 27th letter, right? On Psychic Experiences.
I don't think so. We may have read it. Eric, I can't keep up with the dates of these letters.
Let me add that I haven't gotten this from talking to Abrahamson. I haven't seen him in over a month, nor have I ever talked with him about Bundy. This stuff, all my analyzing comes from myself, my own mind and thoughts. When I think and study, then it all falls into place. Everything becomes crystal clear. Squeaky Fromm tried to defend herself. Now, I wonder if some of these pages are mixed up.
Yes, they're very, very mixed up, Eric.
Because there's the number 10 in Roman numeral, but we went from 9 to 8. You follow me? Roman numeral 9, Roman numeral 8, but now it's Roman numeral 10.
Yeah. However, the content is here. Do you want me to read, Eric? Will you read?
Yeah, I'll read three more. We could share 3 paragraphs each, okay?
Yep.
D, I do my dream, I do my dream, I do daydream a lot, like right now, but it's very normal in prison. I wish I could just fly over to your trailer, ring the doorbell, kick off my shoes when I got inside that cozy little place, and sit down with you at your kitchen table, drink a hot mug of coffee, nibble homemade brownies, and talk, talk, talk. No doubt we could talk our heads off from early evening until 3 o'clock anti-meridian. I know you too well, like a book. We could talk about these subjects, our lives, etc. We could talk for hours, I'm certain. Right now, the way we write to each other, our openness, our frankness, our friendship, it's like we live next door to each other. Those 3,000 plus miles mean nothing now. I hope you feel the same. By the way, the Bundy trial is over. True. But everything isn't over yet. We've got the Bianchi Hillside Strangler case coming up in our personal docket, and the Gacy case. We, the two of us, are like a couple of overworked district attorneys. We work our butts off to clear up one major case when another one is just around the corner.
Why do you think there were so many serial killers in the 70s, Eric?
That's a good question. Was there some type of evil morphic resonance?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, is it that in the seven, you see, this is a question somebody put to me who is not around anymore, nobody I worked with. How, I mean, there are, even when I'd spoken to Rothstein, there's a continuation of serial murders all the time. It continues. So we have to ask, why are there those that are named or given names to their killings, their murders, and others who are not? Or do you believe that so therefore, if I could rephrase your question, why are there so many in the 70s who are named? Is it because they name them, these newspapers and others, to sell something? To excite the people?
Well, I think a lot of girls were hitchhiking. It was like they're very trusting. Kids roam freely. Women trusted authority figures. Ted pretended to be a freaking police officer at one point. Girls were hitchhiking. College girls, free love, peace. There was no stranger danger awareness either, was there?
No, not like today.
No internet, no 24-hour news like these days. No CCTV.
In the 1980s, it started quite strong of making people aware.
And you also have to remember, Eric, a lot of these serial killers, they were born like 30s, 40s, 50s, abusive homes, alcoholic parents, traumatized fathers, may have been in wars, adoptions, institutional child abuse. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I think there've always been these murderers, always. But I think in the 70s, remember, it coincides, all of these, with the counterculture. Within the counterculture is the drug culture. You also start to have a lot of experimentation on people. Experimentation that is even legalized in the minds of these sick people, just as sick as the murderers, like a Sidney Gottlieb, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, Dr. Jolly West, and there's others whom we don't know of, who were doing a lot of manipulation with people. And through even advertising, popular culture, There was a complete shift and inversion of what behavior was, of what morals were. So are you skipping all that? No.
No, yeah, I just find it fascinating. The most popular, well-known serial killers are from the 70s.
Mm. Hmm.
I'm so sorry to hear about Oregon and its sodomization and Gomorization. It's too bad. And that detective story I sent you, there goes one of your nuts right now. He was headed to peaceful Florence, Oregon to do God knows what. My dearest kid, do me a favor, okay? Please stop firing your cannon around here. All day yesterday, we heard artillery fire. Boom, boom, boom. They said that there is an Army Reserve artillery range nearby. However, I have the feeling it was you. You're not trying to bombard Smith's house, are you?
He's
Love,
joking.
David Sunshine.
Mm.
P.S. I got your 24 stamps. Thanks. P.S.S. I will send you the Carposi series, but I want to tell you that my posts don't arrive until 3 or 4 days after they hit the street. So the series has already started. When I will get all of it, I'll mail it to you. Can't wait to start reading it. So it's this Carposi series on Bondi.
Now, my posts, does he mean the New York Post?
Yeah. Well, we know Carposi wrote a book on David, right?
Yeah. Oh, New York Post, it does. Okay, so he gets it 3 to 4 days late. Once again, remember, August 12th is when he sent these letters. He's dating them for Abrahamson.
Yeah.
I find it very disturbing that a very disturbing woman that she would sell the letters. Very disturbing. If she's so serious in all of this, of course, people need money, but I don't like it. If she's so serious about this, really serious, why would she sell that which she should have in her file, her studies? I just don't care for it. And I think she is serious to be writing as much as she did to him. He's referring to serious matters, important things, but I just don't like it. So August 4th, so therefore we'll be coming toward August 12th, when no longer are there letters because he's sending what he has to Abrahamson. Dear D, I'm doing fine and
Hang
working.
on a minute, Eric. Hang
Uh,
on.
what happened?
Sorry. Forensics of Evil. I think he misspelt it. Hugh Timos showed up a few times in California newspaper searches, mostly drug charges. This was probably a period when he was a vagabond.
So he meant by mistake. He said hi, and
Yeah.
it should have been Hugh Michael Temos.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. I never heard
Thank
of
you,
that.
forensics.
Thank you.
Okay. Go on, Eric.
Dear D, I'm doing fine and working in the kitchen now. As you can see, I'm coming out of my cell often. If I had to stay there in my cell, then I wouldn't be doing all this typing. The Carposi series on Bundy is a disappointment. It's factual and it appears accurate, but it's empty. There isn't anything in this very lengthy story that you don't already know. All it covers is the Florida murders, the Utah murders, the attempted abduction for which he was originally sentenced, 1 to 15 years, the Colorado murders, and those Washington slayings. All in all, it's ho hum yawn. Arposi has missed the point totally, so he puts an asterisk there. He's highlighting it for her. Nothing was mentioned of Bundy's mind, his psychological profile, his apparent multiple personalities, etc. He gave an extremely brief mention of a Utah prison doctor's psychiatric examination of Ted, but it was so vague, Carposi's report, that it is almost meaningless. Fortunately, now that Bundy has been caught, and especially after all his trials are over, maybe then will he settle down to one special call where he could be observed for extended periods of time, as if he's also writing about himself, maybe a decent criminal psychiatrist and a crime reporter will be allowed to examine Bundy and probe his minds. Plural, minds. Because he did say before that he had multiple personalities.
Mhm.
I sure hope so, or all will be wasted. So multiple personality is not being considered insane. And then it's as if, you think of Abrahamson and you think of Maury Terry or Jack Jones. Criminal psychiatrist and crime reporter will be allowed. So I think it would be more Jack Jones in this period. No?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, should I still read?
Yeah.
A book we sent a book was sent to me from Stan Fisher of the Middle of Silence Gallery. Remember them? The book, I bet you have it, is called The Occult by Colin Wilson. I have that.
Hmm.
It's over 600 pages and it covers all aspects of the occult, from Satanism, witchcraft, vampirism, werewolfism, uh, unidentified flying objects and their occult nature, as well as all aspects of magic and spiritualism. To grasp it all, I will need the utmost concentration, for it is very deep. Fisher, although he still claims to be a mystic, is opposed to the occult, is, is at war with mediums, and believes that all aspects of the occult are of the devil. This isn't a bad philosophy. However, it isn't truly Christian. By the way, I have very little contact with him anymore. Do you know this Fisher?
Mm-mm.
So this Fisher, he claims is not an authentic Christian, has very contact with him. Uh-huh. All right, you take over here.
There is one thing I've found out from reading this book with regards to Satanists, magicians, seers, astrologers, and practitioners of the black and or white arts. They all have one thing in common: either it's sudden and or violent death, or a prolonged, agonizing death, or they end up penniless, poor, or obscure, or they end up in a mental asylum. The greatest of Satanists, Aleister Crowley, lived the last quarter of his life as a heroin addict and an alcoholic. He died miserably, lonely, and pathetically. D. I agree with you more than ever before. Those occultists are really a sad lot. I
You
know,
could
I
say
know
that
that.
you could say that about so many normal people
Yeah,
who end up in all those different ways. Go ahead.
not just the Crowley types, huh?
Uh, uh, uh.
I know that you are very interested in occult crimes. However, sex killings like Bundy's often resemble occult killings. It's no means unusual for sex slayers to eat part of their victim's flesh. Albert Fish ate some parts of a 10-year-old girl's body in Westchester County in the early 1900s. Ed Gain, I think this is how you spell his name, ate all of his female victims and used their skin, believe it or not, for fur coats. Each. He also drank their blood. I don't think there's any evidence Ed Gain was eating anybody, any bodies,
Mm-hmm.
or drinking their blood, David.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, the Aztecs used their victim's skin for clothing, and Satanists as well, drink blood.
Yeah, I had known that of the Aztecs. That was something that a friend of mine who's now deceased had brought up about looking at Apocalypto by May Gibson, that these people would have actually flayed and worn the skin of the victims,
Lovely.
you know. And so he goes, the list goes on, and it had no end, so it isn't even worth mentioning them all.
Whatever that says there.
To include one McAnulty letter and Mrs. Mills letter, carbons.
Yep. Do you want me to read, Eric?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll take three paragraphs each.
Personally, I believe that sex crimes often result in mutilation plus a host of other atrocities that are often brought about by deep frustration, which builds up to a huge climax, a total, almost volcanic eruption, much like a volcano that has been dormant for millennia and suddenly becomes active. My crimes, although not sex crimes, happened in much the same way. However, all violent crimes are considered somewhat sexual in nature. So here you have him, Eric, saying my crimes, not our crimes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that, Eric?
Well, yeah, because he's being specific. I mean, his crimes were not sex crimes.
Nope. But
Yeah.
he's saying my, not as in singular.
Yeah.
My crimes, not our crimes.
Yeah. But you see, the crimes that could be singular, but it could also, one could say, well, the crimes I committed, and it doesn't mean that there weren't others with one.
But he says he only did 2 of the 6.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2 of the 8 attacks.
Mm-hmm. Not here.
But he's saying my crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling D one thing and...
Now, when he says my crimes, what is he referring to? That he did 2 of the 6 attacks? Or how many were there?
8.
8. So he's saying he did 2 of the 8?
Mm-hmm.
But the others weren't sex either.
Yeah, no, Eric, what I'm saying is, like, he's saying my crimes. My crimes. Mm-hmm. None of the Son of Sam crimes were sex related, were they?
No, nothing was. Not to my knowledge. No, never. Never.
Unlike Ted.
Mm-hmm. The only thing, though, that we do know is that sex is that it's male or males. Let's stay with a singular. Male on female most of the time, with the exception of Alexander Esau mistakenly shooting Carl Denaro and shocking psychologically and emotionally John Deal. But they're all females. The targets are feminine. So there's a sex there, but it's not a sexual conjugation, a relationship. See what I mean? A rape or anything else. Coincidentally, these crimes often resemble occult killings, human sacrifices. However, there is a great deal of difference despite their similarities. Sacrificial slayings are premeditated, as you well know. They are cleverly planned, the victims carefully selected, and the motive, although a primitive one, is present. Mm-hmm.
With men like Ted, these victims are most often, but not always, approached at random, sexually abused and slain. The rapes, mutilations, molestations, and love bites that occur go even beyond the capabilities of Satanists. Although Satanists are almost capable of anything.
Well, because the Satanist, if this is what he means, not one who just, because the acts of Bundy were satanic. They were evil. They served Satan. But by Satanist with a higher case, says he's talking about people who belong to a congregation, a ritual. You see?
What I mean is that sex killers mutilate with such ferociousness, and they do it so haphazardly that their work is clearly visible to the trained investigator. It sets these lone killers apart from the occultists. These murders don't seem to have much knowledge about the human anatomy and their work. When it's finished, looks like the product of a blind, arthritic butcher. Satanists have a little more finesse, I think. Well, time for something a little... Sorry, what, Eric?
He's referring to ritual.
Mm-hmm.
When he says they have more finesse, there's something ritualistic there. Go ahead. No, the Amityville Horror Story is referred to.
Oh well, it's time for something a little more pleasant. Amazing. Did you hear about the former DeFeo Lutz residence? It has been purchased for the bargain price of $80,000 by a psychic researcher from Arizona. He said that he wanted to see for himself if the story is true. He claims to be a professional investigator in the field of psychic phenomena and its research.
He
He
doesn't
moved
give the name. He doesn't give the name. Once again, we don't have names of people that he or she refers to. Who's the psychic researcher?
he moved in lock, stock and barrel. Spell that wrong. He moved in lock, stock and barrel, and he says that he can't wait to spend his first night in the house. Either two things are going to happen. He will either say the house is haunted or it isn't. If he says it isn't, then I won't be surprised. However, if he says it is, then again, I won't be surprised either. He seems like a quack and a charlatan, and I have a feeling that this may turn into a case of collusion. It may very well turn into a big publicity stunt. I wouldn't put it past the movie I wouldn't put this past the movie company. I had tried to save the article, but someone took the newspaper. Sorry. D, please do me a favor and look up Man, Myth, and Magic, Gilles de Rais, or De Gilles. See what you can find out about him. I need this information for my study. It's important. Also, please tell me if you have these books. If not, do you want them? Case Book of Murder by Colin Wilson, 1969. Or do you have any works by Montague Summers? He's a modern-day expert on vampirism.
Oh, I have Montague Summers, a priest. I have a number of his books. The Werewolf, Vampirism. I have quite a number of his books. They're very difficult to get now. Do you have any of Dion Fortune's works on vampirism or werewolfism? Now, Dion Fortune is very interesting to read. That's a play on words. Dio non es fortuna. God is not fortune. Her real name was Vicky something. She was Welsh and she was a Freudian psychologist. Fortune is supposed to be the greatest of modern occultists. What greatest is supposed what
Greatest is supposed to mean, I don't know.
Uh-huh. Oh well. Today is Saturday and I'm typing this out in the early afternoon. I'll let you know if any mail comes tonight. Please stay well. Postscript, please don't get me a subscription to the Globe or any paper of a similar nature. True, it has many stories of the supernatural, but most of those popular people appear to be charlatans. He's correct. He's correct on that. They just want publicity. A true psychic doesn't need to advertise.
I think there's only one letter left, I believe.
Yeah, he's right on that. True psychics don't need to advertise. And also, a true card reader, many people won't want to hear this, is not supposed to charge you 1 penny or half a sixpence. You know that?
Mm-mm.
Once they charge you, there's something that intervenes with it. It mitigates with it. It's influential. It should be done without any charging. A true tarot card reader never charges. It renders defective, and likewise with astrology. Many people don't want to hear that, but too bad. August 5th, 1979. Dear D, my oh my, aren't you a closet genius? Where have you been keeping that brilliant mind? You should have been a detective. You've made some very good comparisons between the three of us. He speaks of three. Oh, Son of Sam, Bundy, and Hillsides. That's what's meant. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get to this soon. Yes, being here does alleviate much of that pressure. Your example was very good about us functional guys. No, it is hard to get back into the jar. Once you're out of it, it's forever. But maybe with a little squeezing, I could. I wonder what he means. Maybe with a little squeezing, I could get back into the jar. It's almost as if you're talking about a genie that's let out of a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Lo.
You see, it took me 24 years to erupt, to explode like a volcano. It took me 24 years before I reached the ultimate destiny. Murder. This is the ultimate climax. Murder. I reached this point. Hillside and Ted did too. I reached the point where I just couldn't keep it in. I wanted to, but couldn't. So I gave up resisting. Thus, here I am. And both Hillside and Bundy are going to the chair. I've got life.
Did those two guys go to the chair? Bianchi and his cousin?
Bianchi's still alive.
Mm-hmm. So did the other one go to the chair?
No. He died. Heart attack, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Angela Buono.
Mm-hmm.
No, they did not go to the chair.
Mm-hmm.
If it took me 24 years to finally explode, then it will take many more to heal. The explosion was in the making for 24 years. Now you must give the lava that spewed forth in a fiery torrent a chance to cool. Yes, the difference with me and Ted is that I'm trying to change while he's still fighting. Hillside is also just starting to fight. Let's see what happens to those two. Tex Watson, Manson's ex-cohort, has been in the joint for 10 years. He's no psycho, he's salvageable. And saved he is. He's getting married. Do you know? Once he thought it was hopeless too.
Notice that this page up above is, go down a bit. Now this is supposed to be in Roman numeral 5, 10. I wonder if David sent these to Dr. Abrahamson with notes, pages, references, you know?
We will never know, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Those eyes, very good, kid. You're very observant. Let's talk about these eyes. You've got that avatism thing right, 100% true. It was only a mental avatism. What's an avatism, Eric?
Well, atavistic is, it has to do with basically, if I remember correctly, how could I forget it? I think it has to do with something ancestral, if I'm not mistaken. Atavistic well, it's ancestral. It has to do with ancestry. You carry forth what is ancestral,
like a primal instinct.
Yeah, primal instinct, primitive, primordial, and possible and unadulterated. You could even add to that.
D, all the victims said that we had crazy eyes. Well, we did. We psyched ourselves up to an inhumane, animalistic state, a frenzy. We, all of us, reached a state of sexual excitement, not physical avatism, obviously. Our excitement was so strong, so emotional, all this hate, anger, frustration rising to the surface at once. In an emotionally charged frenzy, we killed. True, the hillside fellow didn't leave any survivors. This gave me all the more reason to believe that he went through this mental avatism thing too. For further proof, all those detective magazines and the Argosy magazine I have revealed that all the victims were throttled and strangled with such ferociousness that most of their neck bones were broken. Obviously, he had used such force. I have no doubt that he also entered into this sordid state. Plus, the victims were bruised real bad, beaten, sadistically molested. Their genitals, some of them, were slightly mutilated. The final topping for the cake concerns the victims' defensive reactions. That's just it. There weren't any. With the exception of just one victim, Jill Barkham, not one resisted. Why? Because they were paralyzed with fear and held in an almost hypnotic trance by looking into the ultravistic eyes in a state of terror.
Into those atavistic eyes.
In a state of terror. They couldn't move.
There's a theory there's a belief that because of sympathy or compassion, you have taken on the feelings of the murderer. You see, you take on the feelings of the murderer, and therefore there's no resistance.
I have 2 detective magazines on Hillside, but I'm not going to order detective files. I hope to God that you didn't. Tell Jones about my seeing Abrahamson. Is that Jack Jones?
No one ever saw Jack the Ripper. Postscript, script, script. Well, yes, I wonder if it's Jack Jones. So, did she have contact with Jack Jones?
Don't know.
Man.
I mean, I know Jones is a very popular name, but
Oh yeah, yeah, very popular. And
what do you
plus,
make of those letters, Eric?
she have to what?
What do you make of those?
Well, I find on the whole, I find them quite sickening. Of the subject, I find it quite sickening, all of it, and I I'm, there's a lot to say. I mean, he's obviously writing ever so much to her and relating to her, but that's because she's also she's also relating to him. There's a reciprocation here. They've built
Yeah,
up,
it's like therapy, isn't it?
yeah, but still, to even understand it all the more so, we're trying our best with only half of the puzzle. We want her letters. And
Yeah,
he,
and I don't think David could talk about this stuff with many other people. And
no,
Dee was like the perfect outlet for David, wasn't she?
right. But
She
one,
was into this stuff.
yeah, and in a way, she has some knowledge. She's not a dum dum, but at the same time, maybe she wants stardom. So she sells some of the letters. And then there would be that letter that you and I went over where he was angry with her because she got in touch. No, when he's writing to Maury Terry, and that he was angry that D Channel, I believe, who did she write to that he did not want to know? Didn't he write to God? Didn't she write to Terry Gardner, someone in North Dakota? She got in touch with.
Yeah, and he told Maury, stay away from Dee, leave her alone. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but he was also angry with D
Hmm.
for informing somebody in law enforcement that which was private of his, and he said, I want nothing to do with you.
David was writing to a lot of people, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah. And maybe he was saying to Maury Terry, stay away from D.
He knew she was a troublemaker, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, there's a lot of references to serial killers dotted around these Abrahamson letters, but before we go, I've just got a few more I want to read, okay?
yeah,
Um,
these are
this
from
is
Abraham, and
yeah,
I, I've covered these, but we could read them again, elsewhere. But
I've just got a couple here. He says, Dr. Abrahamson, you asked me why I was so nervous when I did the first shootings. I guess it was because I guess it I guess it was a case of me being fearful of capture, but I also realized that I was doing something that was not only illegal but also dangerous. I too could have been killed or wounded. Perhaps the man in the car would pull out the gun and chase me. I didn't know what would happen. Fortunately, from my former point of view, the male victims were equally left in shock by the suddenness of my attack, and they didn't have the time to be heroic or run after me. The possibility of an off-duty police officer or a patrol car passing through the vicinity when the shots were fired was also taken into consideration by me. So I guess I had a lot to fear.
yeah, but wait a minute. He's talking of almost like a plurality of men being present.
Well, he said men were like collateral damage. Well, you know,
Yeah, but it's interesting though. He's thinking of men being there. We know of Deal, we know of Denaro, we know of Esau. Esau's the one victim. Unless he's referring to something else.
however, and most importantly, when I was about to commit my crimes, I was cognizant of finally being able to pass the point where which a human plays God. Does this sound strange? Sure, I was nervous. Why? Because I was about to commit the ultimate of crimes, taking another's life. This was a very traumatic event, plus I was very anxious, exciting, and tense. Why did I shoot with one hand, and when I missed, why was I frustrated, you ask? Well, the best answer that I could give is a 50-50 one. I wanted to take a life, yet I wanted to spare a life. I felt that I had to kill someone. I wanted to and didn't want to. I spent hundreds of dollars fixing up my car, putting it in perfect working order for this event or events. Because he had to have his car in tip-top shape. He didn't want to break down at crime scenes, did he?
No, 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 of course not. It was all planned like a military maneuver.
I spent a great deal of money in gas and oil. I purchased other guns before my 44 caliber revolver. A shotgun and a 45 caliber rifle already cost me $500. Plus, I had bought ammo and cleaning materials. Lastly, I spent many hours driving in search of victims. No, I knew that I was going to commit crimes that I set out to do.
Well, for, $500 back then is a lot of money.
hmm I did not become subconsciously deluded, hence mental illness. Rather, I am very much aware of the fact that I really deluded myself. I did this on purpose. I had taken many quiet and peaceful walks along Orchard Beach in the Bronx and also Perry Point Park. I was determined in my full agreement with myself that I must slay a woman for revenge purposes and to get my back on them all for the mental suffering they caused me. Of course, you would disagree extensively with my moral view. I don't blame you, because I too realize that this was a poor excuse for all I've done. However, at the time, I sincerely believed that I was justified. I believed that I had every moral right to slay a chosen victim. As gross and perverted as this sounds, it was my belief. I psyched myself up to believing this, but perhaps I didn't succeed in finally convincing my inner self, my deep conscious. Regardless of how I went about my justification for my crimes, it suited me then. I guess that shooting with one hand, which I did unconsciously, was a result of my inner conscious speaking to me, and that I secretly wished that I'd missed. But outwardly, I was angry when I did, because I went to so much trouble to succeed and I took such huge risks.
And what's the shooting with the one hand?
Well, he says here, during the fourth shooting, when I first used two hands. So the first three shootings, Eric, one-handed.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Carl Denaro's,
Mm-hmm.
one hand.
Yeah. And also, that's where he has stated numerous times he was there, but it was the woman who shot him.
And this would explain for the wildness.
Mm-hmm.
Not a woman or a 60-pound weakling or whatever it was. I guess at this time that I further succeeded in justifying my crimes to myself, that I was more determined than ever. At this point, I imagine I didn't care much anymore. I finally convinced myself it was good to do it, necessary to do it, and that the public wanted me to do it. The latter part I believe until this day. I believe that many were rooting for me. This was the point in which the papers began to pick up the vibes of information that something big was happening out on the street. Real big. And he knew. In the fifth incident, I suppose you are right in saying that I didn't want to get caught here. To sum all this up for you, I did want to get caught. Then again, I didn't. I felt guilty. Yeah, I felt I had to do this. All in all, what's done cannot be undone. I hope this answers your recent questions. This is in reference to your August 23rd letter. The book Co-Ed Killer by Margaret Cheney, and it was published by Walker and Company in New York. You were quoted on pages 12 and 13. So the Co-Ed Killer is Ed Kemper, Eric.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's such a morbid thing.
All right.
Mm. Go ahead.
You were quoted on pages 12 and 13, two full pages, and on 198 and page 210, and in one other place, the book was quoted as what? The book that was quoted was A Violent Society.
Mm-hmm. It's very light, the print, so that's understandable that maybe you flub here and there.
You had asked me not to compare myself with other mass murderers, so I won't. However, the similarities between me and Edward are unbelievable. So he's saying here, him and Ed Kemper, The similarities are unbelievable. Truly, we are kindred souls. Reading this book was like looking into a mirror. So much of our lives and motives of our crimes were identical. We even drove the same car, a Ford Galaxy with a yellow body and a black vinyl roof. We had blankets in the back seat for the same purpose. We both used plastic bags for our guns, garbage bags, and many other things too numerous to mention. So he's saying here, like, he was like Ed Kemper in many ways.
Yeah, but and of course he also relates himself to Bundy. And the other way, go down. That first sentence is no, yeah, right. You asked me not to compare myself with other mass murderers, so I won't. But he's always making some comparison or proximity relationship. We've seen that with him writing to D Channel. And
Oh,
Abrahamson wants him to focus only on his own actions so that he's not influenced perhaps by what the others are doing.
we've got Maury back from the dead, Eric. Dr. Gallardi's analysis is amazing. He should have his own channel or write a blog. He gave a master class during the Psychiatric Sunday series.
Huh. And who is Trudy Zeke?
Back from the dead, Eric.
Oh my.
Now let me carry on. You had asked me not to compare myself with. I read that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's
All
interesting.
right. Okay. So there's not much more left.
Okay. Dear Dr. Abrahamson, do you mind? August 30th, 1979. I'm enclosing a story about a young woman who was murdered in Manhattan. While the crime itself has no meaning to me, the rest of the story about this lady does. Her story in this brief article very much expresses my reasons for searching out my natural family. Her motives, her motives for searching and mine are very much the same. The news reporter put into words and in a tierce manner what I've been trying to tell you. Both her and I were just two lonely people. I feel a close kinship with her. So a news reporter was looking for her family, right? She wasn't murdered. Is that true? Go down. Not murdered. Am I wrong or right? Go down a bit. Was she murdered? Wait.
I'm not
Put
sure.
it down. Put it down, please. She was murdered. And she was one who was murdered who was looking for her own family. Yet she's a victim, and Berkowitz is not a victim of being murdered. He's the murderer.
So there's not much left. I just want to,
Mm-hmm.
dear Doctor,
September 5th.
September 5th, 1979. Dear Dr. Abrahamson, I suppose. I have before me a news clip in the Buffalo Evening newspaper dated September 1st, 79. Whatever that says. There's an article about me that's apparently put out over the Associated Press wire service. This article was identical with what I told you in my August 13th letter to you. The story was about one of my shootings and how I was becoming more experienced and a better shot. Obviously, the article was stupid, sensational, and poor taste. However, the gist of this letter is, did you give the Associated Press a copy of my letter dated August 13th? And did you give the Associated Press any of the many letters I'd sent you in the past year? If you did, it would be a senseless thing to do. The article accomplished nothing with the exception of arousing the public and opening up old wounds for the victims' families.
Well, if he did do that, Abrahamson, he would be breaking the law as a physician of giving somebody's private medical records, making them public, which a physician is not supposed to do.
The reason I'm questioning you is because the wording of the story is so exciting to
Exactly.
my August 13th letter that naturally I must suspect you. But I must add, that the story is said to have come from the source in the Bronx DA's office. However, I have never had any contact with anyone from the Bronx DA in regards to something like this. However, I am baffled. And this is the article.
No, he says, honestly, I am baffled. Go back. I just want to see if it's honestly. There's a difference. Yeah, honestly, I am baffled. So, however, would mean, well, despite. But here he says, honestly, I am baffled. Thank you for the stamps. I wonder who the source in the Bronx District Attorney's Office is.
Yep. No idea.
Mm.
I think this is the last letter, Eric. You'll be glad to know.
May I start it?
Yeah, go for it.
This is September 6th, 79. Dear Dr. Abrahamson, in your most recent letter, you asked how will Mr. Klausner complete the book in such a short time. Now, Klausner is a journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's why he's going to do it in a short time. He's not Tom O'Neill or Terry. Of course it's going to be short. He's looking for a hit. The answer is easy. First, the book will be a blend of fact, fiction, and half-truths. There you go. Mostly the book will be repeats of old news stories. Yes. Therefore, he would have nothing new to add. From what Mr. Rubenstein tells me, and he was a very good source, the Klausner book will focus on the shootings, the hunt, my capture, etc. He would have nothing to add as for the motive. In addition, he possesses no understanding of criminal psychology. Yeah, he's just a journalist who wants to make a fast buck by exploiting crime. Second, most of the work will be done by ghostwriters. Mr. Klausner will prepare only a general manuscript. Plus, McGraw-Hill, that's a publisher, already has many people working to collect and consolidate all the information on me. Yeah, the bottom line is money. These people are scum. They will obtain, they already have, all the news clippings about my case and take it from there. As you know, a good writer can take a small paragraph of a paper and make it into a chapter. But there's two ways about that, Rena. A good writer can take it and he can expound upon it intelligently. Instead, here he's talking about somebody who is just going to drag it on, embellish it, and so forth. So Klausner's and McGraw-Hill's task won't take very much work, and neither would it take a literary genius to complete a manuscript of this nature. Now, you know something, Rena? Historically, though, for those who know nothing about the case, Klausner's book, inversely, with the passing of time, what, you're skipping a lot.
Oh, no, I'm just making sure I'm on the right letter, Eric. It's fine.
Takes Klausner's book, inversely with the passing of time, takes on an importance for people who know nothing about the case, and they learn about the case if they come across the book years later. You see what I mean? There's then, but then how is the book now 50 years later? A different effect upon whoever picks it up. Now, I'd imagine that this book will be very much like the novel Compulsion. This book sold and sold and sold and sold, yet Leopold admitted the book was mostly fiction. Now, that's the famous Leopold and Loeb murder. These two young men in Chicago, upper class, who planned a murder, an evil act of murdering a young woman. And Compulsion was made into a film by Richard Fleischer with Orson Welles as the detective who defends them. Excellent film. The book Compulsion did not get his cooperation, and it had few genuine facts except those of the police files, the court transcripts, and of the crime itself. In my case, I'm sure the public knows how my crimes were committed. They know how I fired the gun and how I escaped, etc. All this has been gone over again and again by the news media. No doubt the only ones who wouldn't know of the Son of Sam killings are the savages who dwell in distant lands. Well, that's not true. There's even people who didn't know a thing about them and they were in New York.
Right.
Third, go ahead. You want to read?
I'll finish it, Eric.
Yeah.
Third, please don't forget McGraw-Hill advanced. What is that? My eyes. I need my glasses, Eric.
He has it in as a fraction, $250,000.
McGraw-Hill advanced for $250,000 for the project. Plus, Mr. Rubenstein was assumed. Let me start again. Plus, Mr. Rubenstein has assured me that McGraw-Hill will do everything in its powers to see that the book sells well. They have media mass market advertising contracts being worked out now. They plan to sell to publishers, clearinghouses, and book clubs with big selling source. They also plan to XXX sell to libraries and universities. Yes, they hope to have a runaway bestseller. This is getting to something, by the way. This is not just a random letter here, guys. I had to read the rest for context, okay?
Yeah, it's not. Nothing is random. Nothing.
In addition, literary rights will be sold to foreign countries. However, the fact remains that you already have more than he does. You have the candid truth, the real story, you know, by my writings, a great many more facts than Mr. Klausner ever will. You can explain why I did what I did. He cannot do that truthfully. You can answer the questions the interested public will have. All Klausner can ever do is merely recap and rehash the gruesome, tragic details. And now I'm sure we could both agree that little would be accomplished by this. I don't know if many realized that Klausner had access to the estate of David Berkowitz and his diaries. And that's how Klausner got so much information that nobody else had.
How did he gain access
I don't know. I don't know.
And does Berkowitz at this moment know that?
I'm not sure, Eric.
Well, according to what I read, he doesn't.
Maybe that's why he hated the book so much. As for my life in prison, I guess that I'm living as comfortably as one can in prison. I am also content now. My favorite pastime is reading, so I built several study shelves in my cell, which holds an abundant collection of books in an orderly manner. This collection consists of books in psychology and criminal psychology, crime and religion, as well as other interesting subjects. I despise fiction and I never waste my time reading it. As for my books on crimes, I do not concern myself with the gory details of one's crimes. Rather, I am using these books as a study of myself.
And that's what he does when he corresponds with D Channel.
Mm-hmm.
This is what she gives him as a study of Bundy. As I said before, he is studying himself through Bundy. One of the ones, you know. Go ahead.
The recent book that I added to my collection, The Co-Ed Killer, a story of Edward Kemper III, is like a second Bible to me. His crimes were sick and heinous, but so were mine. However, our personalities and our motivations for these crimes were very similar. In fact, to me, they appear so similar. It's like looking into a mirror. Now, I too can see how things happened, how it was mostly my fault. I understand that it's normal when I begin to feel guilty, but mostly I'm benefiting myself by making a concentrated and controlled effort to see the danger signs, so to speak, and to correct them, lest I continue to hurt other people. Nearly done.
No, don't rush. You're doing very, very well. It's making me think. I'm perplexed. I'll say at the end what I'm perplexed about. I'm very perplexed about, and it makes me question this letter to Abrahamson, like that you're reading, and I've read a part of. I'll tell you what I'm perplexed about. Go forward.
It is true that my character may never change. I will always fantasize those evil things which are part of my life. I will always remain a mental pervert by thinking sexual things, etc. However, almost everyone else is like me, for we commit numerous perverted sexual acts in our minds day after day. I will always think of violence, for only a monk, perhaps, could ever succeed in eliminating these desires and thoughts.
Oh my God, David, you don't know how monks and saints suffer. My God, they have the wildest, most evil thoughts invade their minds the more they focus on God. It always looks greener on the other side of the fence, mate.
But what I hope to do is but what I hope to do is mature to such a point which I develop a deeper respect for human life and an increased respect for appreciation for humanity. Through understanding myself and learning the motives for my crimes, which I've always consciously known, but which I deliberately suppressed behind a story of demons rather than openly admitting it. By doing this, I hope to be able to better myself to a point in which I don't need to act out. In reality, my hostilities and frustrations I won't have to take out on personal revenge on others who have done me no wrong. Hopefully, and with much effort, I will no longer feel the need to act out my childish impulses onto the rest of the human race. Perhaps this is all Perhaps this all sounds idealistic. It isn't, and only time will tell. I have plenty of time, and by refusing my rights to appeal, I have all but sealed my fate for life. This I see had to be done. If I am to be successful in my own emotional battles, then I must make sacrifices and try to begin somehow. So far, I seem to be managing. Yours sincerely, Backwards.
And,
So
and
see, he says there, I'm deliberately suppressed behind a story of demons,
yes,
which I
and
deliberately suppressed.
that's right. He suppressed he made the story up of demons. And lo and behold, go to Caparelli's book. Yes, and they go into demonology, and there are demons, and he did believe the demonic attack. See what I mean? Once again, the zigzagging, just like the lines on the screen. Look at that. Oh, the background you have. That's his mind. That's his mind, depending who he's speaking to. But notice how well written the letters are. Notice how well written he speaks. Regardless if he says he made up the demon story to suppress whatever was bothering him, and then the demon story is true. It's back and forth, sometimes in close proximity. Now, this is the thing that bothers me, and I'd like to speak to a lawyer. How is he in prison and Klausner suddenly gets access to his estate? That's I want to know that. Is maybe there's a simple answer. Maybe somebody right now can answer it in the comments or whatever. How does he get that legal right, Klausner? Now, David writes, you read it, I read it, that Klausner will be just giving let's say, a collage in journalistic literature, that he has a good pen and he writes out what has already been reported. And now you tell me, and David, so David, is it being hidden from David that his personal estate was, was given to Klausner? Would David not have known of that? When we have other writings of David where there are legalities that concern him, and later on his cousin-in-law Susan Sugar Wishingrad gets involved. You follow me, Rena?
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's hidden here. How does Klausner see? It's about a book deal. Who's making money? Maybe that David knows on the side, and they get the money. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I'd like to know from a lawyer, as if I knew nothing, is that possible that a journalist writing a book about a man who's committed crimes can have access to his estate? That's where did you find that he had access to the estate? May I ask? I
I
don't.
found on the internet.
I asked that without challenging you. No, no, that's jurisprudentially. It's curious. It's a legal curiosity I have. Well, it's certainly. I tell you, you want to go back and take each of these letters and examine them meticulously for 2 or 3 days. It makes me want to analyze each sentence and contemplate and meditate. And then when I have letter after letter after letter after letter amongst the channel, but also Abrahamson and others, to compare certain traits, one needs time.
There's four folders full of letters.
And
It's
he
amazing.
has more. He has more documents and everything in his cell now. He has tons of stuff.
I'm sure Davey's got everything.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm a D Channel is one who I find interesting, but she bothers me. I don't like these people who.
Well, he got rid of her in the end. I've got a letter I'll pull up sometime. He says, "Do not write me again. I'm done with you. You're a con." So, and it's not dated, Eric. So I don't know when he cut ties with D.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, we know she was in contact with Maury in the 80s. So.
But I don't see anything that's. I mean, well, I don't have all her letters. I don't have all her letters, and I tend to question if she is the source that Terry can't reveal to Lifa. I'm questioning that.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. We did another very fine show. And goodbye.
Thank you for helping. I've been wanting to do these letters for some time. I'm sorry they took nearly 3 hours to go over, but
so what? 3 hours?
It is what it is.
It doesn't matter if it's 3 hours or 3 minutes.
They're there on YouTube for all to watch for years and years.
Bye, Trudy Zeke. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Okay.
You be well, my friend.
You too. Stay well.